In an unremarkable part of the world, in a city that barely stood out on any map, a 19-year-old boy walked down a quiet street with no real destination in mind. The afternoon was calm. Too calm. As he passed an intersection, his attention caught on a familiar sight, a young boy kicking a football back and forth in the middle of the road. It was common in less developed neighborhoods. Kids played wherever they could. Then he saw the truck. It was coming fast. Too fast. The driver's head was slumped against the steering wheel. Asleep. HY, the teen shouted, panic flooding his voice as he broke into a sprint. The boy froze. Whether it was fear from the shout or the looming truck didn't matter. The teen reached him just as the truck bore down. There wasn't enough time. He knew at the moment he grabbed the kid. So he made a choice. With all his strength, he shoved the child away from the road, out of the truck's path. And then, crash. Darkness. Not emptiness, just dark. Then a light. A single white point drifting closer. The teen stirred, awareness returning slowly, like waking from an impossibly deep sleep. He looked around. There was nothing but blackness, the white light growing larger with each passing second. Am I dead? He remembered the impact. The weight of the truck. Surviving that wasn't realistic. As the light drew near, something took shape inside it. The glow dimmed, revealing a man hovering effortlessly in the void. He looked ordinary, middle-aged, dressed in white, but the calm that radiated from him felt unnatural. His presence alone brought peace. "Hello, my child." The voice echoed directly inside the teen's mind. Telepathy, the teen muttered. "Figures." "You're correct," the man continued gently. "You have died. I regret that someone so young left the world so soon. But you need not fear." "So, you're God?" the teen asked. "And I'm going to heaven?" "Something like that," the man replied. "You have a choice. You may rest in peace for eternity, or you may be reborn in the world of your dreams. I can guide you there, but I cannot control it fully." The teen didn't hesitate. "I choose the world of my dreams." The man smiled. "Which world?" "Twilight." "Very well. I will grant you 3 wishes to aid you. They cannot break the rule of 3, nor circumvent it." "Fair enough." After a moment of thought, the teen spoke clearly. "My wishes are: first, I want to be a traditional folklore vampire with no weaknesses. I want a beating heart, blood in my veins, and to be the progenitor of my race. Second, true immortality. Nothing can kill me unless I choose to die. Third, a controllable mental shield. One that lets me decide what others can read." The man nodded. "All acceptable. And where will you be born?" "I want to be Bella Swan's brother. Same age as her. I want my memories to awaken on the day we start Forks High School. And," he hesitated, then added, "make me more beautiful." The man smiled wider. "All shall be granted. Step forward into your new life." The world vanished. As the light faded, the man whispered softly to himself. "Careful what you wish for." Alex Swan's bedroom, 6 a.m. Alex thrashed violently in his bed, sweat soaking through the sheets as a scream tore from his throat. "Alex! Alex!" The door burst open. Bella rushed inside and grabbed his shoulders, shaking him hard. "Alex! Wake up!" He jolted upright, gasping. "Bella?" He blinked. "Why are you in my room?" "You were screaming," she said, breathless. "Like you were in pain." "Was I?" He ran a hand through his hair. "I'm fine." "Really?" Bella stared at him suspiciously. The clock read 6:04 a.m. "You should get ready," Alex said calmly. "First day of school. We don't want to be late." Bella frowned. "You're more important than school right now." "I said I'm fine," he snapped, irritation creeping into his tone. "Go." She hesitated, then sighed. "I won't tell Dad. But if this happens again." She left. Alex stared at the open doorway for a long moment. It was real. He rose and dressed, memories from 2 lives blending seamlessly. Instead of confusion, he felt clarity. Calm. Experience layered atop experience. Half an hour later, he descended the stairs. "Morning, Alex," Charlie Swan said from the kitchen. "Sleep well?" "Yeah," Alex replied. Room felt just like I remembered. Charlie smiled faintly. Bella will drive you. License paperwork's delayed. That's fine. Thanks, Dad. Bella came rushing down the stairs moments later. Come on. We're late. Alex followed her outside. The truck pulled away. Forks high-awaited. And so did a new life. A rusty orange truck rolled into the parking lot of Forks High School, its engine rattling loud enough to draw attention long before it stopped. As Bella pulled into a space, the old engine coughed and groaned, echoing through the lot. Students lingered nearby, laughing and talking, most of them having arrived at roughly the same time. Inside the truck, Bella's face was bright red. This stupid truck, she muttered, slamming the steering wheel. Don't say a word, Alex. Not one. I didn't say anything, Alex replied calmly. She groaned, shut off the engine with more force than necessary, and climbed out. The moment Alex stepped out after her, the atmosphere shifted. Forks was a small town. Everyone knew everyone. And Alex Swan was very clearly someone no one here had seen before. Conversation slowed, then stopped. Eyes turned. Alex closed the truck door and took in his surroundings, then noticed something else. People weren't just curious. They were staring. Boys, girls, teachers near the entrance. All of them looked momentarily dazed. So he really kept his word, Alex thought. Looks like the wishes weren't just talk. He felt normal. His heartbeat was steady. His breathing calm. Nothing about his body felt different from a human's. Yet the reaction around him said otherwise. Tall, broad-shouldered, pale skin like polished porcelain. Black hair that fell in loose waves to his neck. Eyes so dark they almost swallowed the light around them. After a few moments, Bella snapped out of it first. She was staring in the direction of a silver Volvo parked nearby, her expression unreadable. Then she grabbed Alex's arm without warning. Let's go, she whispered urgently. Your curse of being stupidly good-looking is already causing problems. Hey, slow down, Alex protested as she dragged him toward the entrance. I'm walking, not teleporting. They disappeared inside before the staring could turn into something worse. After schedules were handed out and maps distributed, a voice cut in. Hey, you must be Alex and Isabella Swan. A lanky boy with an eager grin stepped up. I'm Eric. Basically the eyes and ears of this place. Need a tour? Lunch company? Emotional support. Alex glanced at him flatly. He's flirting with my sister. Right in front of me. Alex smiled and placed a hand on Eric's shoulder. Then tightened his grip. Eric stiffened. His grin faltered. Sweat beaded along his temple. That's very generous of you, Alex said pleasantly. Why don't you just point us in the right direction? Oh, of course, Eric stammered. Happy to help. Alex released him. Minutes later, Alex stood outside his English classroom, staring at the closed door. Late already, he muttered. Fantastic. He knocked. Come in, came the reply. The classroom fell silent the moment he stepped inside. Good morning, Alex said smoothly as he approached the desk. I'm Alex Swan, transfer student. Could you sign this? The teacher smiled. Of course. Always nice to see polite students. After signing, the teacher gestured toward the back. You can sit next to Miss Cullen. Miss Cullen, please raise your hand. A single hand lifted near the window. Alex walked down the aisle and then saw her. His thoughts vanished. Brown hair, soft and glossy. Skin pale but warm. Eyes so dark they were almost black, yet flecked with gold beneath the surface. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Hi, Alex said, forcing himself to look away. I'm Alex Swan. She smiled and took his hand. Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Edith Cullen. Cullen. The name hit him like lightning. Then something inside him broke. His heart slammed harder. Blood surged violently through his veins. His cells screamed, vibrating as something ancient clawed its way forward. Pain bloomed behind his eyes. Sorry, Alex said suddenly, standing. Bathroom. Right now. Edith frowned. Are you okay? I will be, he forced out. He didn't wait for permission. Alex barely made it into a stall before his legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, body convulsing violently. Bones shifted. Muscles tightened. Heat burned through him. His hair drained of color. His vision bled red. Teeth lengthened. Nails sharpened. A low, feral growl tore from his throat. The stall door exploded outward. When the shaking stopped, Alex crouched on the tiled floor outside the stall, breathing hard. Minutes passed. No footsteps. He moved to the mirror in a blur. Silver hair. Crimson eyes. Slitted pupils. Fangs. Claws. Pointed ears. So that's what I am. The hunger pulsed beneath his skin. A voice urged him to hunt. No. He focused. Forced it down. Slowly, painfully, his body obeyed. The monster receded. When he opened his eyes again, the reflection was human. So it's not erasing it, he muttered. Just hiding it. He checked the time. Hours had passed. First day, Alex sighed. And I already skipped half my classes. The bell rang. Lunch. Alex straightened his jacket and stepped out of the bathroom. Whatever he was now, he'd deal with it. Later. For now, he had a school to survive and Cullens to watch.
Hey everyone, welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
Walking through the halls of his new school, Alex looked around, trying to familiarize himself with the place. It was still quite confusing, however, and he had to look at the small map of the building that had been given to him this morning. The halls were empty at the moment, with only 1 or 2 students walking around here, and they're quickly heading their own ways. Arriving at the doors of the cafeteria, Alex pushed them open and walked in. The cafeteria was a huge hall with quite a few long tables and a counter on the right side where the food would be served, but it seemed like he had come a bit late as everyone was already seated. When he came into the hall, everyone turned their heads and stared in Alex's direction as if they were looking at an alien or some extraterrestrial being. Alex just sighed under his breath as he thought, I guess this is what happens when there's a transfer student in a small-town high school. Deciding that he didn't have time for this, he went towards the counter to his left to see if there was any food left that he could take. Though I'm pretty sure I won't need to eat anything as a vampire, food is still delicious. Alex thought as he arrived at his destination. Behind him, the whole cafeteria erupted into murmurs, and sadly, he could hear them all as if they were right next to him. Hey, isn't that the other transfer student? Yeah, heard his name was Alex Swan, Bella's brother. He looks hot. Alex thought that voice sounded male, but he quickly shook his head trying to get the thoughts outside his head as he tried to ignore the sounds, which was proving quite the challenge with his newfound senses. Behind the counter was a small woman wearing a white apron. Hey, sorry for being late, but is there any food still left? Alex said to the woman. She just stood there and stared at him as if she were frozen on the spot. Hello. Alex waved at her. Yes, sorry, I was stuck in my thoughts. The woman said as she revealed an embarrassed smile. Also, there is food still left. Let me go grab a tray and give it to you, she said as she went behind a door and came back quickly with a tray filled with food. Alex nodded at her in thanks and grabbed the tray. Turning around, he looked at the room and quickly found Bella, deciding to sit with her. Considering I know no one right now besides the ones from the movies and books, but even then I'm just a stranger to them still. Guess I'll just stick to Bella for a while. Alex thought as he started heading towards Bella's direction. Bella was seated at a long table full of people, but there was still a free chair next to her. She seemed to have secured it for Alex beforehand. Arriving at the table, he raised his hand in greeting. Hey, mind if I sit here with you guys? Alex asked the others seated at the table. Sure, said a girl with brown hair pulled up by a hairband. That's Jessica Stanley, if I remember correctly, Alex thought as he smiled at her and sat down. The others then started introducing themselves as well. Hey, we met earlier today. I'm Eric Yorkie, the young Asian boy at the end of the table who introduced himself. Hey Eric, "Thanks for showing us around this morning," Alex replied as he smiled at him. Another boy then grabbed Eric in a shoulder hug and aimed his finger toward his face and said, "And I'm Mike Newton, one of the best basketball players in town. Nice to meet you." The young man said he had blonde short hair and looked just like what Alex would think popular kids in high school looked like. "Nice to meet you too, Mike. I also play a bit of basketball on the side as a hobby. I'm sure I'm not as good as you though," Alex said when suddenly he felt a pinch in his abdomen. Looking to his left, he saw Bella with a small frown on her face. Pulling his head closer to her, Alex whispered, "Huh? What's wrong? Where were you all day?" "I couldn't find you at all," Bella said, her voice clearly showing her frustration. I had a stomach ache and had to skip some classes," Alex replied. "Oh, sibling secrets, is that it? And are you doing it right in front of us?" Mike said towards them with a slight grin. No, she was just asking me where I was during classes this morning," Alex replied to Mike, revealing a slight smile himself. Alex then turned towards the last person on the table. It was a young girl who looked to be Asian with black hair pulled up in a loose ponytail behind her, wearing off-white colored rimmed glasses. "Nice to meet you too. As I said, I'm Alex Swan," Alex said to her, trying to act as friendly as he could so that he'd appear more approachable to the others. "Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Angela Weber," the girl said in a small voice. Angela Weber, probably the nicest person on this table, Alex thought as he stared at the woman who had once just been a fictional character. A nice friend to have, Alex thought as he smiled a bit wider. "Well, if you don't mind me, then I'm going to start eating. I'm starving already," Alex said to the others and lowered his head to look at the food on his tray. And then he stopped. "Right, I totally forgot that the food served in high schools is abhorrent." Alex's expression changed into faint disgust as he thought while looking at the food on his tray. "Yeah, it's not really appetite-inducing, is it?" Jessica said as he looked at the food. "What do you mean? It looks okay to me," Mike said, and Eric seemed to agree with him as well as he nodded his head. "Right?" Jessica and Angela said while looking at the boys. "Well, turns out I'm not that hungry," Alex said, his expression saddened at the thought that this was what he would get served here for the next year. "Either way, what were you guys talking about while I wasn't here?" Alex asked, trying to start the conversation. "Oh, we were just telling Bella about the Cullens," Jessica replied with a faint smile as she crossed her hands in front of her chest while trying to show off to Alex. "Is that supposed to impress me?" Alex thought as he looked at her. "Right, the Cullens. Why don't you tell me more about them as well?" Alex asked as he turned to look around the room as if in confusion. "It'll be good to act like I don't know them. With how those disco ball vampires hold their rules, then it would just bring trouble," Alex thought. They're the ones at the end of the hall, the ones that look as if they're made of marble or something," Jessica said as pointed with her head in their direction. Alex finally turned his head around and stared in the pointed direction. There, seated at a table at the end of the cafeteria, were the disco vampires. They really weren't joking when they described them as absolutely gorgeous in the books. Alex thought as he stared at the 5 individuals seated at the table. There, seated at the table, Alex could see 6 people. Wait, 6? I thought I just transmigrated into the gender-bend book universe. Alex thought, startled. There, seated on the table at the far end of the hall, Alex could see the 6 vampires. Disco balls would be a better term, Alex thought as he grinned at his own joke. The one at the right side on the far back was a huge man with short hair. He had a goofy grin on his face as he joked about something with the person next to him. The one he was joking with was a man with blonde curly hair. His expression while he talked with Emmett seemed to show that he was frustrated with something. I see what they meant now when they said he looked like he was in pain. He totally looks like he has a stomach ache, or maybe he just wants to eat every human in the vicinity. Alex thought as he turned his eyes to the others. On the other side of the table were seated 2 women. One was small with black hair and a pixie haircut, while the other was quite tall for a woman. She had blonde hair that went down to her chest. They were both beautiful beyond what seemed humanly possible. And finally, the last 2 members of that table were seated on the top and bottom of it respectively. At the head of the table was a man with brown hair styled up. Edward, the annoying bastard. Alex thought as his brows furrowed a bit. No, if I'm being honest, then the only ones that aren't annoying are Emmett and Alice, at least in the beginning. Jasper is also alright, but I don't really want to fight to protect my neck anytime soon. And at last, Alex turned his eyes towards the new girl. She had hair the same color as Edward. It flowed down to her chest. Alex remembered getting seated next to her during his first class this morning. Her face is like she's Edward's twin or something, Alex thought, and then it finally came to him. Gender-swapped Edward. Though she seemed to not have gotten his shitty personality, but that makes no sense. If she's gender-swapped Edward, then she should have a similar personality, unless the only reason Edward acted like he did was because of Bella's blood singing to him. Alex thought as he finally turned his head back. Jessica then continued on her rant about how the Cullens were so weird and disgusting, but Alex didn't really pay her any mind and simply waited until the bell rang and got up. "Hey, I'm going to class. It was nice meeting you all," Alex said as he turned around only to feel someone grab his hand. "Wait, Alex, I'll come with you," Bella said as she got up as well, smiled awkwardly at the others, and quickly dragged Alex outside the hall. "What class do you have now?" "I got bio," Alex asked Bella. "Oh, we got the same one. Now let's go and don't leave my sight again." "Do you know how worried I was about you all day?" she said as she furrowed her brow and her mouth turned downcast. "Sorry," Alex said as he raised his hand behind his head in an embarrassed manner. Bella just humphed and they continued on their way towards the next class. Getting lost a few moments later. "I told you, we should have asked someone for directions," Alex said, feeling quite exhausted with the entire situation at hand. "It's fine, we just need to follow the map," Bella said as she started walking in a direction. Finally, after a while, they finally found the bio classroom. "We are so late, why don't we just skip this?" Alex asked in a pleading tone. He had been following Bella for a while now while she tried her best to find their destination. Is she Zorro or something? Alex thought as he affirmed his decision to never allow her to give him directions again. "Are you crazy? You already skipped the whole day," Bella whispered, getting progressively angrier. "Yeah, so what's one more to the count?" Alex said with a smug smile on his face as if he had won the argument. "I'm sure Charlie will love to hear about this," Bella said as her eyes darkened and a smile also appeared on her face. You wouldn't do that now, would you, Bella?" Alex said nervously as he went towards the door of the classroom and knocked. "Come on, let's go be good students," Alex said with a closed-eyed smile. It didn't work well at convincing anyone though when his smile kept twitching. Then they heard a voice telling them to come in. Going inside, they could see that every student was already seated and the professor had already started the lesson. "Hello, Professor. I'm sorry for coming late, but we couldn't manage to find the classroom," Alex said towards the man who appeared to be about 30 years old with short black hair and was wearing glasses. You must be the transfer students. I'll allow it this time, but after today, I won't allow you to come inside if you are late," the man said. "Thank you, Professor," Alex said and indirectly asked for the man's name. "I'm Bob Banner. I'll be teaching you biology too this junior year." The man now known as Bob introduced himself. "Nice to meet you, Professor. I'm Alex Swan, and this is my sister Bella Swan. We have a sheet that we need you to sign for us if you don't mind." Alex asked and handed his and Bella's sheet to the man to get it signed. Bob just nodded, signed the sheet, gave it back, and then told them to sit at any free seat. There were only 2 open spots. One was next to Edward and the other was next to Edith. "I don't know if my presence here would cause any butterfly effects, so I'd better sit next to Edward or he might go insane from Bella's blood," Alex thought as he hurried his steps and sat next to the boy. Bella went to sit next to Edith and from the looks of it, they were becoming pretty quick friends. "I, on the other hand, am having to deal with this bastard," Alex thought. "Nice to meet you, I'm Alex." Edward just looked at him and then turned his head around without saying a single thing. I'm gonna beat you up soon if you keep being like this," Alex thought while his smiling eyes started twitching from anger. The hour passed quickly and soon the bell rang. Bob gave some homework to do for the next class, but Alex wasn't really listening. Alex was instead looking at Edward, looking to see his reaction when he noticed Bella's smell. Soon what he expected did indeed occur. As soon as Edward and Bella were only a few feet apart, Edward's eyes lost their amber color almost immediately and his entire expression crunched up. Alex decided that he wasn't going to risk it and eat popcorn, so he took Bella's hand and quickly dragged her out of the classroom. Turning his head back, he saw Edith trying to comfort him, or at least talk Edward out of his own head. "Why are you dragging me?" Bella asked, her voice clearly showing her frustration if her face wasn't already a clear enough indicator. I just didn't want to get caught up in the crowd, you know?" Alex made an excuse as they arrived at the parking lot outside the front of the school. On the way, they met Jessica and Mike, who gave their goodbyes and went their own ways. Opening the truck door, a shrill sound was heard. Just opening it sounds like a wooden door at 1 a.m. Whilst you try to be as silent as possible, Alex thought back to his past of whoopings. After getting inside and securing themselves, Bella fired up the old truck's engine and started to reverse out of the parking spot. Alex looked out the window to see the students getting into their cars as they left the school. What caught his eye the most was a silver Volvo, however. "Edward has probably already noticed that he can't read my thoughts, so why don't I mess with him a little?" Alex thought as a mischievous grin enveloped his face. Alex thought about how he would be able to unlock his thoughts and found out that all it took was thinking about unlocking them, and he would feel a switch flip in his head. "That's neat," Alex thought, and then stared at the Volvo and the people who had now appeared next to it. Shitty-ass Volvo. Who in the hell would even get some trash like that? Some trash bastard, I'm sure. Alex thought and then quickly closed his mind. Then he saw both Edward's and Edith's heads turn in his direction. Hostility could clearly be seen on their faces as they glared in his direction. "I'm not sure if they're just concentrating to read more of my thoughts, or if they want to kill me," Alex thought to himself as he rubbed his chin. Shaking his head, Alex thought, "Nah, I'm an angel, why would they hate me?" whilst his grin spread even further on his face. "Are you insane or something? Why are you grinning like that to yourself?" Bella asked. "Ah shit, I forgot you existed," Alex thought and quickly calmed his facial expression. "I'm just trying to practice my facial expression. Maybe I can be an actor if I practice long enough, you know?" Alex said towards Bella as he gave her a closed-eyed smile. As if weirdo, she replied as they finally got out of the parking lot. A while later they arrived at their house. They couldn't see Charlie's car, so he was probably still at work. "I'll be going to my room to do the homework," Bella said as she quickly climbed her stairs, only to stop at the last one and quickly add, "Don't come and annoy me, Alex," Bella screamed as she disappeared behind the walls. A moment later Alex heard the slam of her door. Can she be more of a brat, or has she already reached max level? Alex thought as he stared at the stairs. Either way, I should check out my abilities tonight. Just need to find a good spot so I can do it while hiding. Alex thought as he slowly went up the stairs towards his room. I also need to make a plan for the future. It would be a massive waste if I didn't take advantage of the fact that I know the literal future of both the Twilight world and the real world. Alex thought as he sat down on his chair and rested his head on his fist. Especially the real-world future, that would allow me to become a billionaire quite easily, and knowing that I have eternal life, I really don't want to be poor through it. Alex then turned on what looked like a super old computer. Time to figure out how this thing even works. Alex thought as he stared at the PC screen expectantly. The screen finally lit up after a long while and then crashed, leaving only a black monitor in its wake. Alex just stood there with his eyes wide. Did this shit just make me wait 5 whole minutes just for it to crash? Alex thought as he felt like punching a hole straight through it. Taking a slow, deep breath and holding it in for a while, Alex slowly exhaled while trying to calm his emotions. I have to stop getting so angry. Losing my head over the smallest things has much higher consequences than when I was a human. I have to control myself, if not for my sake then for the others around me, Alex thought as he finally felt himself in control of his emotions once again. It is weird though, like I have an entire set of memories of this Alex Swan, Bella's brother, and at times it feels like I really am him, but sometimes like right now, it just feels like I stole someone's life away, Alex thought as he slid down on his chair and looked at the ceiling. His eyes were in a daze as he was deep in thought. But the more and more I learn from his memories and look back at them, the more I notice our similarities. It's as if he's me, just a version of me that was born in a different place and time. Alex heard a noise coming from downstairs as he got up from the chair. Must be Charlie, he thought. Going down the stairs quickly, Alex found that it was indeed Charlie, who had just come inside the house and still even had his policeman outfit on. "Welcome back, Dad. Anything interesting going on at work?" Alex said as he hugged the man. "Even though it feels weird to call him my dad, I still think it's better than seeing a nice guy like Charlie sad. He really doesn't deserve to have neither of his children call him father or dad." Alex thought as he remembered his own dad, the one he had left behind. Shaking his head quietly, Alex tried to remove such thoughts from his head. Not the time to deal with that emotional roller coaster, Alex thought. Nothing new, just a simple case of robbery. The criminal was the grandson. The kid thought he could buy a new computer with the money, but was found out quickly by his parents, so the case solved itself. Charlie said as he started going upstairs. "I'm going to change in my room. Want to head out and get some pizza after, Alex? I know a really good place in town. You used to love going there as a kid," Charlie said as he faced Alex from the end of the stairs. "Sure, Dad. I'll call Bella," Alex said as he followed the man upstairs and went to knock on Bella's door. Knock, knock. "Can I come in, Bella?" Alex asked, and then a second later heard Bella grumbling as she answered him to come on in. Opening the door, he found her laid out on the bed reading a book about some old classical musician. "Still reading that shitty book? Classical music is alright, but even reading about the damn musician? Isn't that a bit of an obsession?" Alex asked in a tone he only reserved for when he was teasing Bella. "Shut up, you wouldn't ever understand me," Bella screamed like a heathen, or at least Alex thought so. All right, calm down, you demon from hell. Dad wants us to go to a pizza place. Come downstairs in half an hour, or I'm burning their books," Alex said, and then quickly closed the door and headed downstairs. He didn't need to have supernatural senses to hear the demonic screams from behind that door. Shivering, Alex rubbed his hands as he thought. Truly, no supernatural being comes close to her, Alex thought. Sitting down on the sofa, Alex turned on the TV. It looked like a basketball game was on, so he decided to watch it while he waited. A bit later, Charlie also joined him on the sofa. "What did Bella say?" the man asked as he watched the basketball game together with Alex. "She'll be down in a bit," Alex replied as he watched one of the players dunk on the basket. "Do you like basketball?" "I'm more of a baseball guy," Charlie said as he turned to face Alex. "Yeah, I like basketball the most out of the sports, but not really a fanatic about it either. As for baseball, I really have no idea about it. Just never really got to try it out or learn anything about it," Alex replied to Charlie as he ruffled his hair with his hand. "You know I could teach you sometimes," Charlie said, and then made a face as if he just had a realization. "Right, I was planning to call Billy Black and his son Jacob to watch the next game. You could watch it together with us, and we can tell you how the game works. How about it, Alex?" Charlie said, his voice clearly showing how excited the man was about the idea. "I guess it's not so bad," Alex thought as he stared at the man who was now his father. "Sure, Dad. I'd love to," Alex replied when they finally heard the thumping of the stairs as Bella came downstairs. "Good, you're here, Bella. Let's get going already." "I'm starving," Alex said as he got up from the sofa and turned off the TV. Charlie got up as well and awkwardly greeted Bella. Charlie really doesn't know how to talk with Bella, and sadly Bella's just as awkward as him, Alex thought as he shook his head in disappointment at the father-daughter duo. Finally, they got in Charlie's police car and went to the pizza restaurant, as Charlie called it, though Alex thought it was more of a fast food place than a restaurant. The night went well as Alex brought up some of his stories from Phoenix and asked Charlie about some of his, while Bella stayed silent through the entire thing. Turned out Alex used to have a crush on the waitress of this place when he was a kid, and she with Charlie used to tease him about it all the time. After they finished their food, they all headed back to the house as it was already 10 p.m. and Bella said she was sleepy and they had school tomorrow. Charlie just nodded while Alex stared at her exasperated. "If Charlie was a bad dad, then I would have understood, but bro bought you a car. You are one spoiled-ass heathen," Alex thought as he stared at Bella, who had stolen his front seat spot. "It's not like I wanted it either way," Alex thought, though his facial expression showed a different story from his thoughts. Finally, after everyone went to their rooms to sleep and the moon rose up in the sky fully, Alex's time had come. "I can finally go and check out my abilities," Alex thought as he heard the soft breaths of Charlie and Bella. Getting up from his bed, Alex went to the window and tried to open it as quietly as he could, unfortunately, as was the tradition of sneaking out at night. Everything's noise value had a massive buff. Creak. God-damned window, Alex thought as he once again concentrated on Bella's and Charlie's breathing sounds. Finding them soft and deep just like before, Alex breathed a sigh of relief as he finally pried the window open and stared at the ground. Gulp. I know I have superpowers, but it's still scary as hell to jump from a second story, you know? Alex thought as he made up his mind and then closed his eyes and jumped down. And he landed perfectly. That felt like I jumped on a cushion, Alex thought in amazement. His expression looked like he was a kid who had just found the most amazing toy in the world. And this is just me without even transforming, Alex thought as he grew more and more excited. First, let's find a spot in the forest though. Don't really want to do this in front of my house. Alex thought and then dashed towards the forest on the other side of the road, right in front of the house. At first, his speed was normal, but as he tried more and more, that quickly changed. I'm not even really trying. It's like if I think about going faster, then my body goes faster. Alex thought as a wide grind engulfed his face. His handsome face didn't help him this time as that grin and running at superhuman speeds at midnight did make him look like a demon. After a while of running, Alex arrived at a small clearing in the forest, if it could even be called a clearing at all. There was a small stream of water and a couple of old trees that had fallen on top of it, looking like a natural bridge. Looking around, Alex noticed that there weren't a lot of animals around. Besides the old owl that he could see perched on top of a tree, there really was nothing. I thought the woods would be much more populated than this, Alex thought, and then shook his head. Doesn't matter. Time to check out my abilities, Alex thought as the grin on his face kept getting wider and wider. First of all, let's check what my strength is without transforming. I seem to have supernatural speed, but just how strong am I? Alex wondered as he couldn't help shaking from the excitement. Going towards the old tree that had fallen on top of the water stream, Alex grabbed it with his hands and tried as hard as he could to lift it. Bang! The tree had exploded on his face. He had pulled it up so quickly that Alex was caught by surprise when it hit his face and shattered. Alex stood there looking at the broken pieces of wood on his hands. Have I underestimated myself? Alex thought, bewildered. If I'm this strong without transforming, then aren't I completely broken? Alex thought as he remembered what the feats of the Twilight vampires were. Either way, at this point I'm just as strong as them without transforming, maybe stronger, though I can't judge how heavy a broken and old tree trunk is. So I'll say that I'm of similar strength to them until I find some heavy weights or just have a competition against someone like Emmett, Alex thought, and then took a few steps behind him. Finally, time to transform. Alex thought and got ready, his hand clenched at his hips. Wait, what am I doing? Doing this stance makes me look like I'm about to go Super Saiyan or something. Alex then wondered if he should scream at the top of his lungs. No, calm down, let's just be normal, or at least as normal as I can be in this situation. Alex then tried to bring back that feeling of transformation he had achieved in the bathroom earlier that day. It started suddenly and it didn't even take a second. His black locks of hair were turning white quickly. First, the hair turned gray, and then a split second into platinum white. His nails extended for a few centimeters, now resembling animalistic claws, and his eyes turned red, the pupil thinning and turning cat-like. Alex even felt like his skin and muscles were tightening now that he wasn't in as much pain as during the first transformation. Overall, Alex looked like a completely different person. It was as if he had truly turned into a beast, as even the few small animals that had been close by had quickly scattered. Licking his front teeth, Alex also noted how the canines had grown longer and much sharper than what was considered normal. Won't these pierce my tongue accidentally all the time, though? Alex wondered, but no matter how much he tried to do so, the teeth didn't damage or pierce his tongue at all. Does that mean my tongue is tough, or is my instinct just not allowing me to pierce my tongue willingly? Alex thought, and then turned towards the trees around him. Well, time to see how strong I am. Alex thought and quickly sprinted towards the tree, his arm cocked up and ready to unleash a punch. Things, however, didn't work out as he had planned. Running face first in the tree certainly didn't seem like part of the plan, at least. Getting his face outside of the tree, he saw it slowly start to collapse. I'm way faster in transformation, but it looks like I need to practice, or this would just be a handicap at most. If I can't even punch someone and can't even control the direction when I'm running, then isn't the transformation more useless than useful? Alex thought, and then decided to just punch the tree without running towards it this time. Bang, bang, bang. The tree flew back in an instant as the fist connected with its surface, a chunk of its trunk hitting another tree behind it, and even that one was launched behind and hit another tree. At once, 3 trees were felled from one punch. Am I One Punch Man or something? Alex thought jokingly. Going towards the chunk that he had severed from the tree, Alex took it in his hand and then threw it towards the night sky. The piece of wood vanished from sight as it flew up at high speeds. Alex waited there, but the chunk of wood was only a few 10 seconds later. With this much speed and strength, if I can control it, that is, then I would be unstoppable in any encounter unless I get jumped by tens of vampires, but even then learning how to wield a sword or simply martial arts would allow me to beat them probably. Alex thought and then wondered about the last 2 abilities. He was sure the type of vampire he had asked God to become had. I can't check out days by myself, but turning into a bat is something I can do myself. Alex thought as his grin widened in anticipation. With his transformation in effect, Alex really did look like a demon at the moment. If Charlie or Bella had seen him like this, then they would most certainly have fainted immediately. Then the grin fell from Alex's face. How do I become a bat? Alex thought, stumped. Bat transformation, Alex said out loud. The only thing that happened was the wind sweeping through the small clearing. Shit, I'm just embarrassing myself at this point, Alex thought as he almost punched himself only to stop when he thought of his power. Circling around, Alex thought for a while. He tried willing it, but nothing happened, even tried saying it out loud or thinking about it, but it was the same. Nothing over and over. I'll just have to try again another time, I need to get back. If someone finds out I sneaked out, then I'd be in one annoying situation. Alex thought as he detransformed quickly. The entire process didn't take more than a split second, and he was back to his usual self. Turning towards the direction he came from, Alex ran as quickly as he could, the wind hitting his face harshly, but it didn't affect him or his opened eyes. It felt like nothing even though he was going at great speeds. I can remember the path I took clearly as if I've been going through this way for years. Do I also have a perfect memory or something? Arriving at the house, Alex quickly jumped up towards his window and then got inside his room. Turning around, he slowly closed the window behind him, though not without it creaking like hell on earth. It's always at night, always. It's like they hate me. Alex thought and sighed quietly to himself, finally getting the window to shut up and closing it. Now, what do I do? Alex thought and started circling around the room, lost. He continued walking around for a minute until he stopped. Yeah, sleeping isn't really gonna be easy, especially after trying those kick-ass abilities, Alex thought as a grin emerged on his face just thinking about his supernatural strength and speed. Slapping himself in the face a second later, Alex thought. Okay, let's calm down first, and then he sat on his bed and continued thinking what he would do for the rest of the night until it was time for him to go to school. I mean, it's a good way to see if I get tired or if I need to sleep, and I could always continue trying to transform into a bat, though it would be pretty bad if I transformed and then heard someone coming to my room and I didn't know how to transform back. Alex thought and then nodded his head as he stared out the window at the shining moonlight that had now brightened up the night. All right, I'll try to transform into a bat until the sun is about to come up, and then I'll stop. This way the chances of anything going wrong should be minimal, Alex thought, and then got on his feet. Though I feel as if I just jinxed myself or something. Actually, I think it might be called that I raised a red flag. Whatever, it's one of those. Alex thought and started thinking hard about how to transform. He tried everything for hours, thinking it very loudly in his head, clenching his buttocks, clenching his feet, wishing to God, the devil, and every other creature out there, even Dracula himself. Nothing worked though. Damned, with how much for been trying, I'd have farted or worse if I was still a human, Alex thought, and then shook that disgusting thought out of his head immediately. The sun had already crossed the horizon at this point, and it was steadily encroaching on the sky, lightening it up with its orange rays of light. I guess I should stop here for now, Alex thought as he stared at the sun, and at that moment he heard the cracking of a bed. Turning his head quickly towards the wall, Alex thought to himself, yeah, I guess with my super hearing I could notice someone coming from miles away even without seeing them. Me taking so many precautions so I don't get suddenly found out by someone were truly useless, weren't they? I mean, not really, but kinda, Alex thought, and then sighed and took his clothes down quickly. He grabbed his pajamas quickly and then tried to put them on as fast as he could. Squeak. And they got ripped apart almost immediately. One half was in the right hand and the other on the left hand. Fuck. How the hell am I supposed to pretend I was asleep now? I guess I can pretend I was asleep with my clothes on, but that would just give me an annoying talk with Bella. Or I can always risk it and go unclothed. Alex thought as he pondered the choices for a second. Yeah, if it was just Charlie then maybe, but there is no way I'm letting Bella have even the slightest chance of seeing me like that. That's just beyond gross and weird. Alex's face scrunched up in disgust at merely the thought of that happening. He took his discarded clothes and started wearing them again, this time much more slowly, trying to be careful of his strength. If I rip these too, no way, I like these clothes. Don't think about it, Alex thought as he showed a grimace and shook his head quickly to get rid of the thoughts. Besides that, I need to be more careful than yesterday when I do stuff like that again. First of all, in the coming future, that bastard Edward will be like a damned security camera around my home. Should I just kick the bastard's ass? I could mask myself and beat that bastard, Alex thought as he finally got clothed and then jumped on the bed, covered himself up, and closed his eyes. Yawn. Alex could hear Charlie yawning from the other corner of the house, as if he were sitting right next to him. That's cool, but weird as well, Alex thought as he imagined himself sitting next to Charlie as he yawned in his face. Yeah, I hate my imagination. Either way, I probably shouldn't tell the Cullens about me. Alex was thinking about it, but then his thoughts froze for a second and rewinded themselves. Wait, why the hell should I keep it a secret from them? Like, sure, I don't need to go to them and straight up say, hey, I'm Alex and I'm a vampire just like you guys. That's just asking for trouble, but why should I hide it completely from them as well? Like in the fanfictions I read, they usually hid it, but I really don't see a problem. Alex thought as he tried to remember all the fanfictions he had read in his past life and remember what the authors of those had used as an excuse. To be honest, the Volturi and the Cullens aren't even in a good relationship with each other, so I would doubt they would even talk with each other about things like this, but still that's an unknown. Alex thought as he remembered Edith. She definitely wasn't part of the main cast in the famous books. She was part of that spin-off gender-bent book, but that was it. I don't know if there could be changes, and I really don't want the entire supernatural community to know about yet, Alex thought. Yeah, I'll keep it a secret for a bit, I guess. A few minutes later, as Alex lay on his bed waiting, he heard Charlie going downstairs. I guess that's enough stalling. I'll take a shower and get ready and then go downstairs. Since he's awake, then I can just say that I also wake up just as early, Alex thought as he nodded to himself, pleased with his own genius acting. Only for him to stop 2 steps later. Yeah, Bella knows I sleep until 1 in the afternoon if I'm left alone. Well, I'll just say that I'm super excited to go to school. Yeah, Alex continued affirming that he was in the right and his logic was flawless. Taking himself to the bathroom, Alex started showering so that he could remove some of the dirt and even chips of wood that had been on him from all the testing he had done at night. A while later, after finishing his shower and cleaning his teeth, they actually didn't look like they needed cleaning at all and were even shinier than he had ever seen them before. Alex went to his room, took his backpack that he had just dropped on the floor yesterday, and started heading downstairs. As if I'm actually going to study, I've got much more interesting things to test and examine than hearing about how humanity fought itself. A grin appeared on Alex's face as he thought of all the possible supernatural wars that could have happened in this world. That would be interesting to learn for sure. I've got to ask Carlisle and Jasper about it, Alex thought as he remembered what he had read about their past. And he stopped walking once again from the sudden reminder flashing through his head. Or that could have been fanfiction, and it actually didn't happen at all, Alex thought with a downtrodden face as he finally arrived downstairs. Looking around, he quickly found Charlie at the dining table, eating some kind of sandwich. "Good morning, Dad. You slept well?" Alex said, though inside he held back a grimace. Even though I have the past memories of this body, my other world ones are still the dominant part of my memories, so it's kinda weird to call Charlie my dad. Still, it's better than calling him Charlie. That's straight-up disrespectful, Alex thought as he waved his hand at Charlie, who had by now looked up and a small smile had graced the man's face. "Hey kid, good morning to you too. Yeah, I slept well. What about you?" Charlie asked Alex and motioned for him to get a seat as he seemed to want to get up and make something for him. "I slept great. No need to get up and make myself something. I don't like eating when I just wake up. I'll just eat at school lunch," Alex answered as he took a seat in front of Charlie. The man froze for a moment and then awkwardly nodded as he continued to eat his sandwich. Does the guy even have any friends for him to be this awkward? Or is it because I'm his son? I've never had children, so I can't understand, I guess. Alex thought as he stared at Charlie, whose fingers were twitching a little and overall his body language showed just how awkward of a situation the man thought he was in. "Do you usually wake up this early, Dad? Don't you have until 7 a.m. to go to work?" Alex asked, trying to stir up a conversation with the man so he could help him open up a little. Yes, but I usually go at 6 a.m. so that I can be ready and help if something were to be needed at the station," Charlie said, this time much more easily and less awkwardly. "I guess he likes his job a lot, huh?" Alex thought as a small smile graced his lips. "That's great. You must really like helping people a lot, huh, Dad?" Alex asked the man whose eyes seemed to get brighter at the topic of something he liked to do. "Of course, it's why I'm still doing the job after all. I like being able to help those in need and keep the security of Forks so that everyone can feel safe," Charlie said with a smile on his lips as well as he told Alex about his love for his job and helping people out. Must have been hard on him in the original series with all the shit Bella put the man through. I can't imagine how much it must have hurt him to hear Bella talk like she did to him and him being unable to do anything to help at all, Alex thought for a second, as he got up and grabbed the steaming kettle and poured himself and Charlie a cup of instant coffee. Turning around, he gave 1 cup to Charlie and kept 1 to himself and sat down in the same place as before. No, he wasn't even aware of what was happening, just that his baby girl was randomly starting to do the bullshit that she did. Alex's thoughts continued and his frustration at the original series Bella rose just as fast. "So, do you wake up this early as well?" Charlie asked as he finished his sandwich and took a sip of his coffee. "I don't usually. I was just excited about today, no? This place still feels so new and unknown that it's exciting, and so does the school and the people there. All these guys that I could become best friends with and have a great time." Alex answered while he spewed bullshit out of his mouth without his eyes even flickering a little bit. "Truly, sneaking out in my last life has made me a professional at this," Alex thought to himself. That's great. I hope you make lots of friends and have a great time here in Forks. If anyone bothers you though, just tell me and I'll deal with it, all right, son?" Charlie replied, a happy look on his face at Alex's answer. If only you knew, Charlie, just how dumb someone would have to be to mess with me at this point," Alex thought to himself. But what he actually replied to Charlie with was, "Of course, Dad, I'll let you know, but I usually don't bother people, so I don't really get into any trouble. It's just annoying to deal with, you know?" Alex replied as he took a long sip of his coffee. "It's super hot, but it's not burning me at all. It just feels nice," Alex thought to himself as he looked at the steaming cup of coffee in his hands. That's great. That's what I usually think like as well, Alex." Charlie nodded and then likewise took a small sip of his coffee and continued. "Had you made any friends yesterday?" Charlie asked. "Would those guys who sat with Bella be considered my friends as well, or just her friends?" Alex thought, but then just decided to nod. "Yeah, I made some friends, both me and Bella. We sat at the same table, so I guess they are friends to both of us. This is Mike and Eric, Guy and Jessica and Angela. You know any of them?" Alex replied. Mike Newton and Eric Yorkie. They're good kids. I'm glad that you made them your friends. Angela and Jessica are good as well, though I know less about them compared to the boys," Charlie answered, his face bright, as he explained what he knew about the kids' families. Alex stood there and listened to the man ramble on for minutes without interrupting him. A while later, Charlie finally stopped and scratched the back of his head and laughed a little. I guess I got a bit carried away there, son. I hope I didn't bore you, Charlie said as he looked at Alex. Not at all. It was all very interesting to know, and it's always nice having more information about the people around you know? Better to know than to hang out with the wrong crowd. Alex replied, trying to reassure Charlie that it was all fine. Charlie nodded, and then both of the men just stood there in silence, enjoying their cups of coffee. It was a while later that Charlie heard footsteps coming from the stairs. Seems like Bella's awake, Charlie said as he turned to look at the stairs coming from the second floor. Alex nodded. He had heard her wake up and move around half an hour ago, but couldn't really tell Charlie considering it would take superhuman hearing to be able to notice. He would have just looked weird for half an hour when Bella didn't come down. Yeah, seems like it, Alex said and got up and went towards the couch, first turning on the TV and then lying down. You're about to head off to work, right? Alex asked from behind the couch. Yeah, I'll be going off now. Tell Bella I said good morning. I made 2 sandwiches for both of you and they're in the microwave, Charlie said as he got up and headed towards the door. Cring. The front door made a loud noise as he pried it open, its old age showing. See you later today then. Alex said loudly. See ya, Alex. Charlie said and then closed the door. Turning towards the TV, Alex saw the morning broadcast was on. It was just showing that today would be just like always, with a gray cloudy sky and Forks, with a little drizzle of rain happening once in a while during the day. This is one depressing place to live, I'll give them that, Alex said his thoughts out loud. It is, I hate the weather here, I'm already missing the weather in Phoenix. Bella, who had just come down the stairs, replied to Alex. Phoenix better than here? Are you sure we are talking about the same Phoenix, Arizona? The one where you feel like you're about to melt from the heat? Hell no, I'd take cloudy skies over that any day, every day of the year. Alex replied to Bella as he turned around to look at her. Yeah, you do, Bella replied as if what Alex just said was the dumbest thing she had ever heard. Huh, either way, Charlie made us sandwiches. They're in the microwave. Help yourself, Alex said as he motioned for the microwave next to the sink. Bella nodded and took the sandwiches and started eating her breakfast. Why are you up so early? She asked as she stopped eating for a moment. Couldn't sleep longer. Feel kinda excited about being in a new place still, Alex replied as he continued to watch the morning broadcast. A while later, Bella finished eating her food and started heading upstairs once again. I'm going to get ready. I'll be back in a bit, and then we can head off to school, Bella said as she went up the stairs. Alex didn't reply as he thought to himself. Back in a bit? Go to school right after? What do you mean, you damned woman? It's barely become 6 in the morning. Are you telling me that you're going to talk half an hour up there and call it a bit? I guess if the stereotypes are true then it makes sense, but damn, Alex thought to himself, and then slapped his face, though it made a louder noise than he would have liked, and he ended up rubbing his face after. Why did I do that? He thought to himself as he tried to reason on how his logic of hitting himself with what could be a human-powered slap was considered a good way to get rid of him thinking about Bella needing that long. Just as he thought, a half hour later Bella came downstairs and he got up, heading towards the door. Taking his school bag, which he had left next to the dining table, Alex said, You got everything? Are you finally ready? Though his voice betrayed his outward nonchalance, showcasing his annoyance at having to wait. Bella just smirked in his face and then headed to the door, car keys in hand. Yep, let's go, and I'm driving by the way, Bella said as she opened the door. Damned rat, Alex whispered to himself. What was that, Alex? Bella asked as she turned around. Nothing, let's just go, Alex replied quickly. Heading towards the car, Bella opened the door and hopped into the driver's seat, put her backpack next to her, and then tried to ignite the car. Cring. The car door opened and Alex sat down on the front seat. Were you going to leave me, huh? Alex asked with a twitching smile on his face. Who left you? Aren't you in the car? Bella asked with an innocent smile on her face. Twisting the key, she tried to get the car to start up. GRNKGKRHD. It made a lot of noise for what felt like a few minutes to Alex until it finally decided to wake up and the engine finally started pumping its pistons. Sure took its time, Alex said absent-mindedly. Yeah, thought it wouldn't ignite for a while there, Bella said as she put the car in reverse and started heading out. It's really uncomfortable having you drive this thing, you know? Alex said as he stared at Bella reversing out of their house and into the road. Why, are you scared I'll drive us into a ditch? Bella asked, her voice sounding frustrated. I mean, you can barely walk on your own feet with how clumsy you are. I'm amazed how you even managed to land yourself a driving license. Alex replied, a smug grin on his face. A damned bastard is what he is, Bella said under her breath. Alex heard it all though, and all it did was increase the smugness in his face. Finally, after getting on the road, it took them about 10 minutes and they arrived at the school's parking lot. It seemed like most of the students were also coming to school at this time, and the parking lot was full of cars, and most of the students were next to theirs as they chatted with themselves. Driving the car into a free lot, Bella kept the engine on as she took her bag and started to look inside it to see if she had everything. Why are you even looking now? It's not like you have enough time to go back home before classes start. Alex asked, perplexed by her behavior. I know, it's just something I like to do before class, okay? Bella answered quickly, her frustration at him making fun of her, the whole way to the school finally showing itself. All right, I'll stop, Alex said as he held up his hands in a pacifying manner. Well, I'll be going then. Don't want to miss any more classes or whatever, Alex said as he got out of the car. Yeah, if you miss one more then I'm telling Charlie, got it? Bella said to Alex. Slam. And the door got slammed shut in Bella's face. Now then, what should I do today? Alex thought as he walked towards the school's front entrance. He continued walking, trying to think of something to do, only to stop when a sudden realization hit him. I have nothing to do. Alex realized suddenly as his excitement died out like a fire in a rainstorm. Do I just skip out class and go to the forest to train up my abilities? There's no way I'm going to go to high school for the second time in my life. It was already hell on earth back in my world, and back then I had computers and I used to play games all day. These guys are from before I was even born. What's fun for these dudes is what I call old school, Alex thought as despair engulfed him. Opening the front door, Alex was finally inside the school. Backpack on his shoulder, he started walking towards a random hall. Wait, what's my first class? Alex thought as he just realized that he had no idea where he had to go. Opening his side pocket in his backpack, he grabbed a white piece of paper that had almost crumpled up completely. Taking the paper in his hands, he tried to flatten it as much as he could so that it would at least be readable, and looked at his schedule for the day. First class, History. Second class, English. Third class, Spanish. Lunch. Fourth class, Math. Fifth class, Chemistry. Sixth class, Art. God, I hate half of these. The only ones that I would be fine with would be Art and English, just because I don't have to listen at all, or the professor would just let us do whatever we wanted. Alex thought as he remembered his classes back in his old world. Looking at the paper once more, he found that next to each class was also the room and building number, so he and Bella, who had also gotten a similar letter, would be able to find their way around the building. Nodding his head, Alex turned around and started walking in the complete reverse direction of where he was going initially. I sure was heading in the right direction. Maybe I should make my nickname Zorro, Alex snickered to his own thoughts as he continued on his way. The halls had already filled up and students were going to their own classes, and as they would be starting in a few minutes, most of them were in a hurry to find their way. Of course, there were the ones who simply didn't care and were just going at their own pace as well, or even the ones who were caught up in conversations with their friends and had completely forgotten about the time. Sure, I don't give a shit about school, but I have a reason to at this point. I really could do anything I want. I just need to not fail, and it'll be fine with my superpowers. I would be able to become the best in any sport I wanted to, and that if I don't want to get high scores, which I would be able to do easily with my enhanced memory as a vampire. Alex thought as he looked at the students who, as per mentioned, were not giving a crap about the bell that signaled the start of classes ringing. Though, I probably should at least try a little as well, if not for myself then to at least make Charlie a little happy. It's not that hard to just give the books a single look after all. Alex thought as he finally arrived in front of his classroom. Opening the door, he saw that most of the students had already taken their seats and the professor was already in the classroom, but he was still looking over at some of his own files or something. Deciding to just sneak in, Alex made a shushing noise to the students and carefully walked towards Mike, who apparently also had this class and sat next to him. "Yo, Mike," Alex said as he finally sat down. "Yo, Alex, good morning, man," Mike said with a shit-eating grin, and then continued. "You think you're something, huh? Always coming late to class or not coming at all." Mike said, though it was clear from his tone that he was just joking about it. Alex laughed as he turned to Mike. "Of course, who do you think I am? Some regular student?" Alex said to Mike as he puffed up his chest so he could appear bigger. Mike laughed out loud, which caused even a few students to turn around and look at them in confusion. "Damn, Alex, you're just the best. We're going to be best of friends, you know," Mike said, a large smile showing on his face. Alex and Mike talked the whole time the class was going on. It wasn't that interesting of a topic that was being discussed by the professor either way, and Mike said he already knew it, so Alex decided to just strike up conversations with him. They talked about a lot of things, ranging from basketball to football and even gossiping about the people in the school. Finally, the bell rang and the class was over. Getting up on his feet, Alex stretched his arms out as he said to Mike, who was doing the exact same thing right next to him. "Sitting in one spot for an entire hour really is tiring, isn't it? Sometimes I feel like it takes more out of me than a run would," Alex said as he turned to look at Mike. Mike nodded his head as he replied whilst nodding his head. "Yeah, man, you are totally right. It just stiffens up your muscles, and then you have to stretch, or they start hurting after a while." Alex nodded and then grabbed his backpack, which he had slung on the table, put it over his right shoulder, and started walking while waving his hand to Mike. "Well, I gotta go, Mike. I have English. Better not be late twice, am I right?" Alex said as he walked away. Mike waved him goodbye as well as he said out loud, "Yeah, see you at lunch, Alex. Don't be late again," though the last part of the sentence was said in a snickering voice. Sure, Alex replied as he got out of the classroom. "Now then, where is the English class?" Alex thought as he started heading off in a random direction while he pulled out the white sheet of paper. And it's in the complete opposite direction once again, Alex realized as a twitching smile covered his face. Turning around, he started heading towards his next class, for real this time. Time passed as Alex finished his English class and Spanish class, and now it with lunchtime. The halls were filled with students as they eagerly went out of their classes. Damn, those two classes were much more annoying than I thought they would be. Everyone has already formed their own clique or something, and so they just stick to themselves, unlike Mike. So I didn't talk to anyone, and what's worse, those two damn teachers kept making me go to the blackboard so they could test my knowledge or whatever the hell they were trying to do, Alex thought, frustrated as he trotted down the hall towards the cafeteria. At least I can talk to someone in lunch, because damn, being in this time period with no smartphones is one hell of an annoyance. Like, I can pass the time by drawing on the table, but even that has its limits. Alex thought as he arrived in front of the cafeteria entrance. Even without going inside, one could hear the loud clamor of students inside as they took their usual seats or grabbed their food, and of course the loud conversations that they were having. This was only further boosted for Alex, whose hearing had only recently been enhanced. "And now I really think I'm going to get a headache, even though it should be theoretically impossible with me being a vampire and all that," Alex thought as he rubbed his temple with his right ear, hoping it would somehow lower the noise, though it proved highly ineffective. Alex stood at the entrance for a few seconds, wondering if he should go in at all, considering he really didn't have any need for food as a vampire, but nonetheless still opened the door. "I'd rather not have to deal with Bella and maybe even Charlie nagging me about not eating food," Alex thought as he finally came inside the cafeteria hall. It seemed like it was already almost full and only a few spots were still left free. Going to the line, Alex grabbed a tray and waited his turn, which came rather quickly, and then he grabbed some food for himself and headed towards Bella's table just like yesterday. The table was already full with only one free spot, which Alex guessed they had saved for him. "Hey guys, I'm not too late, am I?" Alex asked as he sat down, putting his lunch tray on the table. He was seated right next to Bella just like yesterday. "Hey Alex, you're just on time actually. We got out a bit earlier as the professor had to do something and released us earlier than usual." Jessica answered Alex as she put her hands under her bust and looked at Alex with what could only be considered a crazed look in Alex's eyes. "Yeah, I'm staying far away from her. She did the same thing last time. Like, damn, can you just calm the hell down already, woman? Alex thought to himself. Ah, nice, Alex said as he turned to Mike, and they started talking just like they had in history class. Alex and Mike got interrupted when Bella asked the whole group, "Hey, has anyone seen Edward today?" She asked as she looked at the group, and Alex could tell just how embarrassed she was for having asked the question 1 second after she said it. No, I haven't seen him around, Bella. Why do you ask? Do you like him? Jessica asked Bella as her eyes seemed to almost shine at the smell of the slightest thing she could gossip about. Bella took what could only be called a step back away from her even though she was seated, and then answered her question. No, it's just that he looked at me like I was the worst smelling thing on earth yesterday when we had biology class. Alex, who was currently playing with his food with a fork, said out loud. I mean, why do you care about the weirdo either way? I mean, if you smell bad, then I smell like some dog shit on the road. Mike and Eric coughed while Angela, who was currently eating food, turned to glare at Alex. Turning towards them, Alex made an apologetic face as he said a small sorry. Well, you get what I mean. We haven't seen him around, but you shouldn't care about him either way. He's just a random bastard, Alex said, and inside, he felt so pleased with himself that he wanted to jump up and down in excitement. Never thought cussing someone in front of their whole family in secret because they don't know that they know what I said would be this exciting, Alex thought to himself. Alex snickered inwardly to himself as he looked at the Cullens' table from the corner of his eyes. He didn't need to even look as he heard Emmett's booming laughter spreading through the entire room. Though he looked like he was about to die from joy, some of the others didn't seem to share that same sentiment. I see. I guess they take family a bit more seriously than in those fanfictions I read where someone insults Edward and they are all okay with it. That makes more sense, I guess. Alex thought to himself as he turned his attention towards Bella, who had now gotten a black face and was glaring at him intently. Come on, Bella, I apologized, didn't I? And it wasn't like I said anything that wasn't true from what you're saying that guy did. Alex said to Bella, trying to pacify the young woman. Bella just sighed as she stared at him and shook her head slowly as if in disappointment at how her brother had grown up. Turning her head to Angela and Jessica, she muttered a soft sorry for him and his antics. Alex just stood there watching the entire situation unfold, dumbfounded. Did I just get treated like some dumbass kid? Alex thought, flustered and confused. You sure have gotten better at this, Bells, Alex muttered to himself as he stared at what he was currently thinking was a vixen in place of his sister. A grin so small that only Alex with his supernatural sight could see sprouted on Bella's face. You are going to regret this later, Alex thought to himself. Emmett's laughter, which had sprouted for the second time, just served to irk Alex even more. What's worse was that he could hear the snickers of the other Cullen members. Just you wait. I'll show you all who is the ultimate troll. The lunch continued afterward with Bella not talking much and just nodding or shaking her head to the occasional question that was directed her way, while Alex got immersed in a talk about American football with Mike and Eric. As they were so focused on their conversations, they didn't feel the flow of time much, and in what felt like a flash, the bell rang signaling the end of the lunch break and that now students had to go back to studying in their classes once more. Alex and the group all got up as they waved goodbyes to each other. Mike followed Alex, while Angela followed Bella as they had the same classes, it seemed. So how's the professor of math? Alex asked Mike as they were heading towards the classroom. It's Professor Kane. He's a good man, though quite a bit strict, and likes to have all the students follow his teachings to a T, Mike answered as they were going down the hall. His shoulder was getting bumped almost constantly by the rushing students, causing him to almost fall down sometimes. Alex, meanwhile, was passing through the hall without even being touched once. Mike turned to look at Alex with confused eyes and then opened his mouth to ask, "How the hell are you doing that?" His voice showcased his befuddlement at the situation occurring before his very eyes. "How am I doing what?" Alex asked, his voice just as confused as Mike's. "What do you mean by what? I'm asking how are you not getting bumped into at all, and are just avoiding them all as if the hall is entirely clear," Mike asked as he pointed a finger at the surrounding students. I'm just used to it, I guess. In Phoenix, it was even worse considering how many more students there were than in Forks, Alex said as he lied through his teeth. I wonder if I had a status window like in those gamer novels, then would I have max-level acting skills? Alex thought to himself as a small smug grin took place on his face. You are definitely acting smug as shit because of being able to do it, I see, Mike said as he walked next to Alex and then suddenly went right behind him. What are you doing now, Mike? Alex asked, though his voice showed how funny he thought the entire situation was. What, if you can avoid them all, then if I'm following right behind you, then I will be able to do the same thing, right? This way I'm actually the smart one, as I didn't have to learn the skill at all, and I get the same benefits as you. Mike said with a large smug grin on his face, acting as if he had won some kind of championship title. Right, you're totally right, Mike. Never knew you were such a genius, Alex replied, his voice deeply painted in heavy sarcasm. As the conversation neared its end, they also arrived at the classroom door. Heading inside, Alex saw that they were just on time and together with Mike took a seat at the far back of the class. Why are we going so far back, Alex? Mike asked. What do you mean, why, Mike? Don't tell me that you are a front row guy. There is no benefit in being in the front row. There are only negatives, man. Like, you can't even say a thing without the professor noticing you talk, Alex replied, confused at what Mike had just said. Yeah, I guess, Mike said as he sat down next to Alex. Time continued to flow and the class started. Nothing seemed really interesting to Alex, so he tried to talk to Mike, but found out that the guy was actually pretty serious about his studies, so he decided to not bother him and let him study. The hour of math felt like ages to Alex. Without a phone or anything else to keep his mind off the time, all he ended up doing was counting the seconds as he looked at the clock on the wall above the blackboard. Ring, ring. Finally, the bell rang. With the ring of the bell, signaling the end of the math class, the students all got up, with some of them stretching their limbs just like Alex, while some others were holding their temples while looking at their notebooks in confusion. Well, I'll get going now, Mike. I have chemistry, and you said you have Spanish, right? Alex said as he turned to look at Mike, who was also getting up on his feet, while slugging his backpack on his left shoulder. Yeah, I've got Spanish class now, and from what we discussed, we don't have the same class for the final hour either, so I guess see you tomorrow, Alex. Mike said as he shook Alex's hand. Yeah, see you, man. Had a great time with you today, Alex replied as he took off, heading for the exit of the classroom. Yeah, me too, Alex heard Mike say from behind him. Getting outside the class, Alex got his white sheet of paper and followed the instructions on where his chem class was. He arrived there pretty quickly, as it seemed like the science classrooms were pretty close to each other. The following hour was more interesting than math, with them even having to do a small experiment, but it was also boring at the same time, as Alex didn't really know anybody in the class. He tried to make friends with a girl who was next to him, though she just remained frozen and stared at him as if he was some kind of alien or something. Am I just too good-looking? Alex wondered to himself, only to end up shaking his head a moment later. This really isn't the time nor place for me to end up becoming a narcissist, Alex thought to himself jokingly. The class continued forward, and it wasn't long before it was over and Alex was now in front of the door to the last class. Art class, huh? I used to love it back in high school. It was so free and you could just draw anything you wanted, Alex thought, and opened the door, heading inside. There's a problem though. I don't have any drawing supplies with me. Maybe I should have gotten my bag ready this morning instead of watching TV, Alex thought as he looked around the class for a free spot. He saw no free spots besides one. It was at the end of the class on the right side by the windows. Cool. The best spot is free, Alex thought until he looked at who was seated there. Alice Cullen. Even cooler, I get to sit next to a hot vampire, Alex thought as his steps got even lighter. Arriving next to the chair, Alex stopped and asked, Hey, I'm Alex, is this spot free? Alice, who was looking outside the window, turned around to meet his eyes and then gave a smile as she nodded her head and replied, Yeah, it's free. Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Alice, Alice said as she extended her hand towards Alex for a handshake. Taking her up on it, Alex shook her hand and almost couldn't hold back the wince in his expression. Her hand is so damned cold and hard, it's as if I'm shaking hands with an ice block, Alex thought as he stared at her hand for a split second and then reverted his eyes. He, however, didn't forget to ask, are you all right? Your hands are very cold, you could be sick, Alex said to Alice as he sat down. No, I just have naturally cold hands. Might be anemia or something, but I have never really had any issues with my health, so it isn't really something I've had to worry about. Alice replied with that same unchaining smile on her face. It surely does feel like she is testing me right now, Alex thought to himself as he looked at her smiling face, and then a smile graced his face too. You think that you can find me out? Me? The most masterful liar that even the god Usopp couldn't compare to? Heh. Alex thought to himself as he snickered inwardly at his own jokes. At that moment, the art professor finally arrived and the class started. He asked the students to take out their drawing tools and start drawing a portrait. And thus, Alex arrived at his current dilemma. He could see that Alice had enough drawing tools to share, but he really didn't want to talk to her right now. That feeling of being constantly tried to be pried into and gotten information extracted out of is really strong right now, you know. Alex thought as he looked at Alice with the corner of his eye and then sighed as he decided to just not care about it. Doesn't matter what she tries, she can't really find out much, and with me being an entirely different race, then she can't even see my future, which is probably what set her off in this information gathering mission or whatever she is doing right now. Alex thought as he turned to face Alice. Hey, do you have any spare drawing tools? I forgot about them at home today, Alex asked as he made his face show an apologetic expression as he asked Alice for help. Alice turned to him and finally showed a different expression on her face than her always smiling one. This time it was a face of confusion. You forgot your drawing tools at home? Alice asked, confused about the situation. Alex just looked at her equally confused as he replied. Yeah, is that really so surprising? Am I not allowed to forget things? Alex asked as he stared at Alice's confused face, which quickly disappeared behind her smiling face once more. Yeah, I have enough for the both of us. It's no problem if you take some, Alice replied in what Alex could only call a super sweet tone. Damned that Jasper, one lucky bastard he is. Alex thought to himself. Thanks, Alex answered as he took a sheet of paper and a pencil, and then nodded towards Alice for helping him out and got started on his drawing. Alex was pretty good at drawing, or I guess in the past life he had been pretty good at drawing, but that also meant that the current him was good. He focused as he looked at one of the students in the class and started drawing them on the paper. It didn't take long before it all started to take shape and make sense. Wow, that's pretty good, Alice said as she looked at the drawing that Alex had started. It was indeed pretty good, and if you ask someone else, then they would probably say it was amazing. Alex turned his head and nodded towards Alice as he muttered a small thanks and then looked at her drawing, only to find himself. The drawing was of his portrait and was of extremely high quality, and it looked just like him if only it didn't have one small detail. Why the hell do I look like a zombie? Alex thought as his eyebrows twitched as he looked at the drawing. It looks great as a drawing, but I don't really think I look like a zombie, Alice, or do I? Alex asked her, and his tone showed a hint of annoyance, though it also showcased that he was merely joking about it. Alice's smile turned into a small grin as she answered him. What do you mean, Alex? I thought I drew you exactly as you were on the paper. Her voice had twisted and now carried a tone of innocence, though the underlying smugness and what could only be called a trolling voice could be clearly heard in Alex's ears. I see. So that's how you're playing this game, Alice. Well, I can also do just that, Alex thought as he stared at the zombie figure just a second longer. Either I'm overthinking this like some dumbass, or she drew me as a zombie so that she could show me that she knows that I'm not a human, Alex thought as he stared at the drawing. So do you like it then, Alex? You keep staring at it so hard that I'm guessing you're a really big fan of it. I guess I can just give it to you if you like it so much, Alice said as her grin only grew wider. Oh, definitely. I truly think it's the greatest masterpiece on earth. I would be honored if someone such as yourself would gift this masterpiece of an artwork to someone as lowly as me, Alex said, his voice deeply laced with sarcasm. Alice straight up laughed loudly in Alex's face, causing the entire classroom to turn and look in their direction. She stopped a second later and muttered a small sorry to the entire class, who just turned back to their own work, not without some of them calling her a freak though. Alex's expression turned a bit sour at hearing those words, but he quickly hid it behind his smile. Those shitheads really are annoying, huh? Like, damn, can you all just look at your own problems and not care about what others do so much, Alex thought as he imagined them calling him the same thing. No, if they knew what I really was then, that would be the least of what they would be calling me now. I guess I can hide all I want, but I will never truly be a human anymore. Not like I mind, but it sure is a thing to think about, Alex thought to himself. What's so funny, Your Highness? The greatest art creator of all time, Alex asked in a joking manner, once more trying to get rid of the sour mood that had enveloped the two of them for a few seconds. Alice just smiled as she replied. Nothing, Alex. You seem like a cool guy to hang around with. We could be great friends, you know? Alice said as she pushed the zombie drawing towards him. Alex, for his part, took the drawing in his hand and stared at it for a few more seconds, and then turned to look at her, and showed a large toothy smile as he nodded. Of course, Alice, you also seem just like the type who would be my best friend, you know? Alex replied to her question with both an answer as well as a question of his own. Yeah, let's be best of friends, though saying it like that does make it seem like some childish joke, Alice said as she took the pencil Alex returned to her. So, is your drawing done then? Alice said as she got closer to look at his drawing paper. It looked just like it had before. Alex really had not concentrated on it much while they talked. Yeah, looks all right, and I kinda lost the inspiration in the middle of drawing it, but I've got an idea, Alex said as he pushed his own drawing paper towards her. What do you want me to have this, Alex? Are you kidding? At least I drew you, but I don't even know or talk to this guy. Why would I want it, Alex? Alice said as she stared at the drawing which was now suddenly placed in her hands. Alex just laughed in response and said, So what? It's a gift from your new best friend. Shouldn't you cherish it with your life, or whatever best friends do in stories? Alex said, his voice laced with humor. Yeah, right, I should totally make a glass case for it and store it in a high-security vault on some random island in the middle of the ocean, Alice said as she took the paper, folded it, and then proceeded to rip it right then and there. Oops, my hand slipped, Alice said as she placed her hand in front of her mouth, emulating a clearly fake shocked look on her face. Right, your hand slipped so much that you ripped the paper over and over, Alex thought, his face still showing a grin. That's totally something I would do to Bells, and I totally should in the near future, Alex thought as he imagined it and almost couldn't stop his shivers of excitement. So clumsy of you, Alice, Alex said with a grin on his face. Right? I was so surprised myself. Alice replied with the same grin on her own pale-colored, stone-hard face. At least that's what I think her face should feel like, Alex thought to himself. And they couldn't further continue their conversation as the bell decided to ring right at that moment. Ring, ring. Well, I guess we have to part ways for now, Alice. See you next time. Alex said as he grabbed his backpack. However, he wasn't able to move a step away when he felt someone holding his shoulder. Turning around, he found Alice, who had extended her phone towards him. It was one of those old flip phones, though, for this day and age it was probably the newest technology on the market. Here, give me your number so we can text later, Alice said as she smiled at him. Alex nodded, grabbed the phone, and created a contact with his name and phone number. Giving the phone back, Alex said to Alice as he pushed his backpack a little with his shoulder. I put my number in. Text me whenever, Alice said as gave her phone back and turned around to head towards the exit of the classroom. Yeah, see you later, Alex heard Alice say, or more like mumble with how low her voice was when she said it. Getting outside, Alex headed towards the bathroom first so he could clean his fingers, which had been covered in graphite, and then headed towards the parking lot. When he arrived there, he found that Bella was already at the door of the truck waiting for him. Hey Bella, did I make you wait long? Alex asked, in a good mood after having such an awesome art class in his opinion. No, I just came here as well, Bella answered, but her voice sounded almost lost. She even looked deep in thought as she stared towards a part of the parking lot. Huh, what's got you so deep in though? Alex asked as he turned to look at where Bella was looking. Finding a silver Volvo parked there, Alex understood immediately. Did she already get caught up in her feelings for Edward? That should be impossible though. At this moment she should at most be curious about him, but for a weird reason, I have a feeling that it is closer to love than curiosity. How can a person even fall in love with someone at first sight? That only happens in books and movies. Alex thought up to that point and then stopped himself and muttered silently. Right, I am in a book and movie. Turning towards Bella once more, Alex decided to try and get her mind off Edward. Don't think too much, Bella. You did nothing wrong and he could just be sick or who knows. You know how your sense of smell gets all messed up when you are sick? That's probably the reason, Alex said as he patted Bella's shoulder and then pushed his palm towards her. Bella nodded as she grabbed his palm, and then they just stood there. I don't need your hand. Give me the car keys, Alex said as he looked at her. Bella's face grew red at a frightening speed as she slapped his hand away and then threw the truck keys toward Alex harshly. There, take the car keys, you unfeeling bastard, Bella said as she got in the car and slammed the door. Alex, for his part, caught the keys out of the air easily and just grinned to himself. I'm so damn cool. Catching keys out of the air like that. Alex had not even listened to what Bella had said about him being an unfeeling bastard. Whistling a tune that he remembered from his past life, it was a song that would be released in about 10 years from this time period. Alex headed to the other side of the truck and hopped in the driver's seat. Putting the car in the ignition, he started the truck after a few rumbles and started reversing out of the parking space, making sure to look at both rearview mirrors as he did so, trying to not hit any of the other students' cars. The last thing I need right now is to hit someone else's car. Where the hell would I even find the money to repair the damages? Charlie is a police chef, and this would cause a bad mark on his reputation. It's just a very bad thing to happen right now. Alex thought, though, as he was thinking, the promotion that saying those words would be a red flag was like a loud alarm on his head. Yeah, let's not think about that, Alex mumbled under his breath, and he finally managed to get the truck out of the parking space without hitting anybody in the process. Shifting the gear from reverse to the first, the truck started driving forward as Alex maneuvered his way out of the parking lot. Turning his head to the left just as he was about to get on the road, he saw the silver Volvo. Inside the car were the Cullen kids with only Edward missing. Alice could be seen waving at him from the back seat window, and Alex could even see Jasper waving his hand hello towards him as well. Waving his hand at them, Alex nodded and then stomped on the gas pedal, though what that action managed to achieve was nothing more than a large rumble coming from the truck, and it started to drive just as fast as it would without him even stomping the pedal. Damn, this is one shitty car. Also, can they even be called kids? They look like teens, but they're like 100 years old or something like that. And the other thing is, how the hell does someone as big as Emmett fit inside that car? No, how do 4 people plus Emmett fit inside that small car? Alex thought, confused as he turned to look behind him at the Volvo, though it wasn't there anymore. It's still going like 10 times faster than me if it was able to disappear like that though, and it's driving 5 people. Alex thought about it and decided to increase his respect for the silver Volvo. Alex drove the old truck through the road, which around forks always seemed to be watery. Rain was always on the horizon, and you never knew when it would start. It could be fine one moment and a deep rain could start the next. The high rain was the reason why you could almost constantly see puddles around the city and roads. The drive home was quiet with only the sound of the radio and the wheels on asphalt being ever present throughout. Arriving home, Alex parked the car, twisted the key, and shut the engine off. Is something wrong, Bella? Alex asked Bella as he turned to face her. Bella just turned towards him and furrowed her brows. You've changed, and I don't like it, Bella said. Her voice, while sounding harsh, was equally vulnerable at the same time. Alex's heart jumped to his throat. Did I make a mistake? Did I somehow get found out? Alex thought immediately as soon as he heard Bella utter the words. No, it could even be said that he had read her lips and continued her words before she even fully told them. What do you mean I've changed, Bella? I don't think I follow, Alex said as he scratched his neck. Bella just stared at him and then smiled. Seriously, what's happening? Alex thought as he got confused by the rapid change of expressions. You know, Alex, while you might have changed, you also haven't, and one thing that seems to remain a constant is your tic, Bella said, her face showing the same smile as before. Though she was smiling, it wasn't reaching her eyes. My tic? Alex thought, confused, and then asked Bella to clarify what she meant. What do you mean, Bella, tic? I don't think I've ever had one of those. Alex said. I think you are just in a bad mood and we should go get a pizza or something, Bella. You are acting strange and are confused. Alex continued as he tried to grab the keys to restart the car only to be stopped by a hand, Bella's hand. No, I'm not confused at all, Alex. You do have a tic and even you knew about it, so it is quite strange that you would forget something like that when Mom and I used to make fun of you so much for it. You hated it that you actively tried to get rid of it, but couldn't, and it stuck with you since childhood. Bella said as she kept holding Alex's hand in place. When you get caught and lie about something, anything, then you would always scratch the back of your neck as you tried to explain your way out. So I said that you had changed, Alex, and you said you didn't. And as for the pizza? I don't want any of it, and you can go alone anytime you want. You ask how you have changed. You are much more rude, a lot more brutish than before, and it almost feels like the only thing you care about is yourself. Have a nice time at the pizza place, Bella said as she took her hand away, grabbed her backpack, opened the car door, and then slammed it in what Alex felt was his face. She then proceeded to stomp to the house door, only to almost fall once and then continue with an even angrier trek inside the house. Well, fuck, Alex thought as he slammed his head onto the car's steering while causing the car's horn to let out a small beep. I thought I was acting perfectly? No, moreover, it doesn't make sense for me to forget something like a tic if I have both of my life memories. Alex thought to himself as he tried to come up with any answers, but couldn't come up with any. He could only think of one more question, however. Have my memories been tampered with? Alex thought, shivers running down his spine at the chilling thought. At first, I thought that the Alex before me was simply some clone of me that lived his life until now when I, the real person, could take hold of the body, but it turns out he was an entire person of his own, huh? Alex thought as he curled his fist and raised it up. His fist was shaking from the amount of force he was using to clench it. Even though his skin was harder than any metal, it was being pierced by his nails as red steaming blood came out of his palm. God damn it. That fucking God that brought me here and said he would grant me 3 wishes. He did something, didn't he? Alex thought as he tried to think back to the moment. Think back and remember the one who had granted him his wishes. I can't remember a thing about him. Not his face, not his voice, nothing besides knowing that he existed and brought me here with 3 wishes to choose, Alex thought as he got up from the car seat and went outside, closing the door of the truck. He locked it and started walking alongside the road, heading towards the outskirts. That's not all. I thought I was being discreet, but I still had this thought at the back of my mind that these were simply unliving, thoughtless characters around me. The real Bella isn't as dumb nor as naive as the one portrayed in the book. Charlie isn't the father who couldn't talk to his children at all, and Alice certainly isn't just a mindless bundle of excitement and joy. Alex thought as he continued walking. Turning around, he started heading into the woods. I fucked up even while trying not to, huh? Alex thought. No, this isn't as bad as I'm making it be. It's simply annoying to deal with. Now that I think about it, I guess I can even call it the true wake-up call that I needed, Alex thought as his walking pace turned into a jog. His jog turned into a sprint. And his sprint turned into a flash. As any normal human, I would have a hard time even keeping up with it. Next time it won't happen. No, this time I will not think of them as mindless and thoughtless characters in a book, not even subconsciously. Alex thought as his determination shined through. The first order of action is that during this week of downtime when Edward still isn't back and before the plot of the book starts rolling, I need to figure out my memories and everything about this body and myself. A while later, clouds had gathered on top of Forks, their gathering only further accentuated with a dark color as they unleashed what many used to call heaven's wrath upon the lands below. The rain fell down rapidly as the water covered every open surface under the thundering clouds. Cling. I'm back home, Alex said to the air. He could hear Bella shifting in her bed upstairs, however he didn't receive a reply. Guess it won't just be forgotten after a few hours, Alex thought as he moved towards the stairs, heading up towards his room. Charlie doesn't arrive for a few hours. I'll just use this time to memorize every book for this school year. Alex thought as he nodded to himself, trying to at least shatter the loneliness a little. As he read the books one by one at a speed far greater than a human could achieve, the rain continued to fall outside the window. Time passed, and soon after it had already become Friday morning, the last day of the school week. Waking up, or at least pretending to, Alex sat on his bed, picking his phone up. He saw the time. It was 6 a.m. on the morning of a Friday. No messages and no calls, Alex thought. He was honestly surprised at the notion, but also not at the same time. The last week sure has been fruitful, though. Alex thought as he remembered what he had found out during the week. This body has 2 sets of memories, but only one soul, if I would call it that, or I could also just say that the main set of memories are mine, the Alex who got reincarnated here. I know most of the former Alex's memories, but not all, and there are certain blind spots, though they seem to be rare and hard to find. Someone like Bella, who has lived with the former for years, will be able to notice the discrepancies. Alex thought as he got up from the bed and went towards his clothes hanger. Taking his daily clothes he took to school, he started getting clothed, his thoughts continuing. Another thing that is interesting to mention is that I seem to unconsciously not accept these memories as mine somehow, and thus have no emotions for the people associated with them. Sure, Bella is my sister, and I have tried to act as her brother, but I just don't have the same feelings for her as the former Alex did. That sibling bond simply isn't there, and is simply replaced by a conscious obligation that I have given myself. Alex thought as the image of how Bella noticed his change started becoming clearer and clearer. I thought that I was acting just like the old Alex, but I was in fact merely a cheap copy of him. No, even a copy would be better. I didn't even have the full material, not even the full memories to at least try and replicate him as closely as I could. Alex thought as he got fully dressed up and grabbed his backpack. Opening the door of his bedroom, he headed downstairs and prepared himself breakfast, simply some eggs and bacon, whilst also making sure to make some for Bella. In 3 days, Edward will be back to school and the plot will start once more in full swing. After that, it won't be long until Bella finds out about the Cullens and their supernatural abilities. I could change what happens and get a better reputation with Bella if I go and stop the truck instead, but it would reveal me as a supernatural as well, and not to someone as harmless as Bella, but to the Cullens, who are century-old vampires. Alex thought as he finished roasting the bacon in his pan. The past few days I also didn't have any interactions with the Cullens. While Alice asked me for my number that day, I still haven't received any texts or calls from her. Not like I would even like any at this point, Alex thought as he took out 2 dishes and put the bacon and eggs on them. Hearing a sound, Alex lifted his head towards the ceiling. Guess Bella's awake then, Alex thought as he took one of the dishes, walked towards the couch and turned the TV on, watching the morning broadcast as he did every morning. It had turned into a bit of a habit. The only normal part of his life was what it seemed to Alex. It helped him start the new day fresh and feeling at least a little bit normal, even though the feeling of being able to destroy everything and anything around him did frequently rush to his mind. What I have also noticed is that my emotions seem to be more agitated when I'm fully transformed. It is as if they are intensified. Not to a large degree where it is noticeable even without me doing anything, but if I were in a dangerous situation, then I could react differently than what I would normally do with a cool and calm mind. Eating the bacon and eggs was another part he had decided to add to his daily routine, mainly to uphold his acting as a human, but it was the former Alex's favorite morning dish, and he had decided to eat it as his go-to for breakfast as well, in a way to honor the past owner of this body. I still don't know much about him or anything really, but what is certain is that he wasn't me and I'm not him. He was a really completely different person and not someone created to just be my body when I reincarnated here. Maybe he could have been, but it really doesn't feel like it, Alex thought as he finished his breakfast. Bella came downstairs a few minutes later and muttered a small good morning, took her dish, and ate her own breakfast. Are you ready? Alex asked as he got up from the couch and turned the TV off. Bella nodded as she took the keys and headed outside. All right then, Alex said to himself as he grabbed 2 umbrellas before going outside and then followed Bella inside the car. The broadcast says it's going to rain today, and yes, we have the car, but it's still safer to also bring these with us, Alex said as he sat down on the front passenger seat. Right, thanks, Bella said as she ignited the car and reversed out of the house garage. The truck was finally on the road, heading towards Forks High School. The entire car ride was silent like it had been the last few days since the day Bella had called Alex out. Not long after, they arrived at the school parking lot. Like every day, it was filled with cars, and students were standing around talking to each other. Looking around, Alex saw the silver Volvo and a black Jeep Rubicon on the corner of the parking lot. They finally brought 2 cars. I still have no idea how they managed to fit inside that one Volvo. Truly one of the great mysteries of this universe, Alex thought as he parked the truck. He had already gotten used to driving the old hunk of metal, so it was pretty easy compared to when he thought he would hit someone any second. Turning the car off, he grabbed his backpack and said, "Let's go." Bella just nodded, grabbed her backpack, and exited the car. "Do you have anything fun today?" Alex asked as they started heading towards the school doors. "No, nothing really interesting. It's all stuff we already learned back in Phoenix. I'm sure you remember, right?" Bella said, though her tone appeared to get more and more sarcastic as she neared the end of her sentence. "Right," Alex said, his right eye twitching as he walked alongside Bella. "Well, then I guess I'll get going now since we have different classes and all." "See you later, Bells," Alex said as he walked ahead of her and turned to wave as he walked away. "Right, see you later," Bella said, her voice small, almost a mumble at this point, but the sadness echoed clear throughout it. Heading inside, Alex saw the same halls he had seen for the past week. He had already gotten used to maneuvering through them and finding his way around. "I never thought I'd like coming to school, but the house has been almost unbearable, with Bella barely talking to me anymore. I can talk to Charlie, but he's barely home and comes back late and leaves early," Alex thought as he headed towards his first class of the day. "Physics class is this way, I think," Alex thought as he headed towards the left hall and up a pair of stairs. "Hey Alex, right?" As Alex was climbing the stairs to the second story of the building, he heard someone calling him. Turning his head to the left, he saw who it was, and it left him stumped. "Jasper." Alex was surprised. He was the last person he thought would talk to him, who, at this point, was just a normal human in everyone's eyes. Not like they would readily just believe me if I told them I'm a truly impossible-to-kill vampire that's different from all vampires that currently exist. Right, that's totally believable. Alex thought to himself. "Hey, Jasper, right? Do you need me for something?" Alex asked as he extended his arm for a handshake with the young blonde man. "No, I just saw you heading up to the second story, and I'm going there for physics class, so I thought we might have the same class together," Jasper said as he started walking up the stairs. Alex followed his pace and started walking shoulder to shoulder with the human wannabe vampire. "Yeah, I've got physics too." "I guess we can hang out together for this hour then," Alex said as he smiled at Jasper, happy he didn't have to spend the rest of the class alone and staring at the wall. "Right. I hope we can be friends soon then." Jasper smiled and replied to Alex. "Hope? We're already friends, man. We are totally going to be homies," Alex said as he put his hand on top of Jasper's shoulder. The vampire froze for a second before he relaxed and continued to act normal. Not more than 2 steps later, Jasper stopped and turned towards Alex, his face showing confusion, and asked, "Homies, what's that?" "A new way to call friends." Alex stared at him for a few moments, his expression frozen, then started walking, dragging the young blonde with him. "I forgot he's an old geezer for a second," Alex thought to himself and then said out loud to Jasper. "Yeah, it's a way people used to call best friends, someone you can trust to have your back when you need it, you know? Kind of like comrades in military terms," Alex said as he explained to the century-old coffin what a homie was. Jasper nodded in understanding, though he did still look a bit confused. "Why are you still confused, Jasper?" "I thought I explained it pretty simply," Alex said as he looked at the man's face. "Damn, bro's handsome. Can't compare to my new face though," Alex thought jokingly. "I understand what the word means, but how did we become so-called homies so quickly?" Jasper asked Alex, his face showcasing a questioning smile. Don't mind it so much, man. Don't mind the small details," Alex said as he laughed out loud for a second. While they were talking, they had already arrived at the physics classroom. Taking his arm out from where he held it over Jasper's shoulder, Alex opened the classroom door. The classroom was just starting to fill with students and the professor, a young woman named Emily. She had recently received her master's degree and was now teaching at Forks High School. Damn, she sure is hot, Alex thought as he went and got the last seat by the window and opened it just a bit so it could let some air inside the room. Professor, is it all right to open the window a bit? Alex asked as he and Jasper sat down in their seats. Lifting her head, Emily smiled and nodded, confirming that it was fine by her. I don't want to be a simp, but damn, Alex thought, and then he hit Jasper with his elbow a little. She looks beautiful, doesn't she? Alex whispered. Jasper just nodded and then whispered back. Yeah, she looks nice. What's with that response, man? Have some vigor, will you? Alex whispered in clearly fake anger. His expression was a smile, however. It's nice being able to talk to someone besides Mike and Charlie. So, what has Alice told you about me? Alex asked Jasper as he listened to the lesson. Nothing much besides the fact that you're a terrible comedian, Jasper answered, his face stoic throughout. How can you say that with a straight face? Alex thought. What do you mean? Jasper asked Alex as he turned to face him. This time, his expression showed a small smile, just barely noticeable. I said that out loud, didn't I? Alex asked Jasper. You sure did. Jasper nodded as he turned to face the professor once more. How can you listen to that jargon? I find it extremely boring unless you are looking at the professor, of course. Then I totally get you, Alex said, a small grin overtaking his face. I'll have to leave the professor to you, Alex. I'm already in a relationship, Jasper said. Right. You're together with Alice, right? Alex asked as he closed his eyes, his head resting on the desk. It sure is annoying that I'm not sleepy as a vampire. Alice, no, I'm not together with her. Where did you even hear that? She's like a little sister to me, Jasper said, his voice clearly showing his confusion. Alex's eyes opened wide as he sat up straight and turned towards Jasper just as quickly. You aren't together with Alice? Then who are you with? Alex asked, his voice showing how flabbergasted he was at the information. What do you mean that you consider Alice your little sister? What do you mean that she isn't your girlfriend? Why is this world's plot already collapsing on its feet? Alex thought as he imagined himself with bitter tears falling down his cheeks. This is so fucked. Why do I have to deal with all these changes when all those fanfiction main characters had it so easy? Alex's thoughts continued to run a mile a second as he waited for Jasper's answer. Well, I didn't know you would be so interested in my love life, Alex. Is this a part of being my homie as well? Jasper asked, his voice clearly teasing Alex. You old geezer, just tell me who you are with before this whole plot shatters any further, Alex thought, his inner face becoming similar to what he recalled a green frog meme looked like in his past life. Yeah, as your homie, I need to know this information as fast as possible so I don't gun for your girl, you know? Alex said as he tried to come up with any bullshit response he could come up with on the fly. Jasper released a light laugh as he finally answered his question. I'm with Edith. We have been together for a few years now, Jasper said as he finally revealed what Alex thought was the secret of the ages. I really should have listened to what Jessica rambled on about on Monday, Alex thought as he nodded towards Jasper, showing he understood. Cool, well then, I wish you both the best of luck in your loving endeavors, Alex said, continuing to nod while closing his eyes. Why do you sound like those fake love gurus on TV? Jasper asked almost immediately. It felt like a brick had fallen on his head as Alex turned to stare at Jasper, completely shocked. Opening his mouth, Alex uttered aloud. How do you know what a TV show fake love guru is but don't know what homie means? I guess it just slipped my radar, Jasper replied and then suddenly froze. His face started twitching as he took on a dark expression. It really looked like he was experiencing some deep pain throughout his body. He's smelling blood? Alex thought and then decided to try it himself, only to find that the smell of human blood was indeed in the air. I have to do something on the off chance this guy loses his mind or some other bullshittery. From all that has happened until now, I really should expect the unexpected. What if Bella comes to me one day and tells me that she is actually a he? No, I can't think like that, Alex thought as he imagined his little sister, with a deep voice, waking him up from his slumber, a long Italian mustache on top of her lips. PFF, Alex couldn't hold it in any longer, and he almost burst out laughing. Not the time, really not the time, Alex thought immediately after. He opened the wider window behind him, allowing the air to carry the scent of the blood away from his and Jasper's locations. This should help him out at least a little bit. Alex thought as he stared at Jasper's expression, which had cleared up a bit and wasn't as dark as before. Are you all right, Jasper? Looks like you're in pain. Do you need me to ask the professor to send you to the infirmary? Alex asked out of the need to hide the truth about his knowledge. Jasper looked at Alex, got closer to him, and nodded, turning to face the windows instead of the students. Yeah, I'm fine. I just get these pains sometimes. My father is a doctor, and he says it's just a medical condition, but it thankfully is not lethal and only causes pain sometimes, Jasper said as he tried to explain why he looked like he did only a few seconds earlier. Right, not lethal to you, but very, very lethal to everyone around you besides me. I guess since I can't really die, though, I haven't tested to see if that wish is true, and I really don't want to test it out. Alex thought. Right, well, that's good then. I hope you're better now. Do you want to change seats with me and be closer to the window so you can get more air? Alex asked Jasper as he motioned towards the window with his index finger. Jasper nodded and mumbled a small thank you as they switched seats. His expression visibly calmed down after. Clearly, he was in less pain from trying to control his urge to rip everyone in the room to bits. Good, crisis avoided, Alex thought. Alex continued talking with Jasper throughout the class, trying to somehow help the guy distract himself from the delicious blood bags in the room. I mean, to a vampire, they're essentially blood bags, kind of like cows and sheep are to us humans, though it does certainly feel awkward to call them that when they have actual intelligence and have a will of their own. No, it's more like they are capable of conscious thought while livestock isn't. This is getting a bit too weird to think about, Alex thought as he stopped his intrusive thoughts and turned to look away from the neck of a girl across the room. I wonder how it tastes, though. They say that blood is like a heavenly meal to vampires. But what if I get addicted to it? And I really have no need to drink it, but it could also give me a boost to my power, maybe? No, that's not how I made the wish, but there's always a chance. Alex continued to think as he made idle chat with Jasper. His curiosity clashed with his morals as he thought of trying human blood. The hour passed as the bell rang, signaling the end of the first class of the day. Getting up from his seat, Alex turned to Jasper and asked, "So, what do you have next?" Alex asked as he tried to stall for a bit so that the others would leave ahead of him and Jasper. This way, it'll be safer, though this could be entirely unnecessary if he's already back fully in control, Alex thought. I have Spanish next. What about you, Alex? Jasper asked as he took his school supplies from the table and put them into his backpack once more. Alex was still checking the room when he noticed they were finally alone, so he also started packing his stuff. I have physical ed, Alex answered as he finally got his books inside his backpack and proceeded to sling the backpack over his shoulder. You take part in those? I'm not much of a fan myself, Jasper answered, likewise putting his backpack over one shoulder. Honestly, I think I've lost quite the interest in them these few weeks. They just don't seem as fun anymore, Alex answered absent-mindedly. He and Jasper started walking towards the door. They sure do rush out of the classroom as soon as the class ends, as if it's on fire. Though I'm really not one to talk, as I do it quite often as well, Alex said as they arrived at the door. Jasper just released a small, quiet laugh and smiled as he turned to Alex. It was nice meeting you, Alex. I hope we get along in the future as well. I think we are going to see each other much more often, Jasper said. Hell yeah, we can totally be best friends, man. See you soon as well, Alex said as he waved at Jasper and then proceeded to walk away, heading towards the gym. Leaving Jasper with a see you and his hand still extended for a handshake in Alex's direction. I see how it is, Jasper thought. While heading towards the gym, Alex continued to think about ways to get human blood or if he should even do it in the first place. It had been fixated in his thoughts for a while now. If I wanted to try, then I could go and grab some from the local hospital, though I would have to be extremely cautious as I could be found by Carlisle, and that is not a conversation I want to have at the moment. Then there's the part about the treaty and all that stuff, which is honestly annoying. Couldn't they just attack vampires with red eyes if they weren't newborns? But they still think negatively of the Cullens, who clearly aren't human bloodsuckers, Alex thought to himself as he shook his head in disappointment. But as they say, anger and hatred are quite blind. It is already impressive that they aren't killing each other at first sight, at least considering how bad the relationship between them was described as in the books and even in normal folklore myths. Vampires and werewolves have always hated each other's guts. Alex finally arrived at the gym doors. Opening them, he found himself in a hallway that went to the left and the right. On the left were the men's changing rooms, while on the right were the women's ones. Following the sign that pointed towards the male changing room, Alex went inside it. It had a few people inside already changing thoughts that didn't bother him much as he started undressing. On the inside of the changing room, the right side was filled with benches and clothes hangers, while on the left was a wall of sinks with mirrors on top of them. Looking at himself in the mirror, Alex was once more amazed at his own beauty. Wait, beauty? Don't I look a bit too? Let's just not think about it, Alex thought as he quickly dressed up in a white shirt and black trousers, as well as some athletic boots that allowed more airflow and freedom of movement for his feet. I just love these shoes, Alex thought as he bounced on the balls of his feet a few times. Going outside the dressing room from the opposite way, he came in through another door, which led him directly into the inside of the gym. The gym's inside was a basketball court, though a bit bigger. When he went outside, he noticed that the gym professor and quite a few people were already there. The professor, from the looks of it, had announced that everyone had formed a line as they waited for the remaining students to get changed. Looking around, Alex noticed another person he hadn't expected to meet today. A large man with an impressive build, looking as if he had the power to crush a bear with his muscles. Emmett Cullen, Alex thought as he stared at the guy who was joining the line. Is this Vampire Celebration Day or something? I've barely met any the whole week, and now I'm meeting two of them in less than 2 hours, Alex thought as he rubbed his temples. The professor waited for a few minutes, did a check to see if everyone was present, and then ordered the students to run around the gym and do 5 laps as some warm-up. Damn, he sure is fit, Alex thought as he stared at Emmett, who was ahead of him and was currently leading the boys in the laps. Emmett turned his head suddenly as if he had noticed something and looked directly at Alex. He waved his hand to say hello, and his face showed a smile. At least he's nice, to be honest. I feel like I would get along the best with him, Alex thought as he remembered what had been said about Emmett in the numerous fanfictions he had read. At this point, my memories are a bit fuzzy as I can't exactly remember if it was a true fact or simply part of fanfiction, but I'll keep all the information I have in mind. Better to expect something than not to expect it at all, even if it is false, Alex thought as he continued to run. The running for Alex and Emmett was practically useless. Their bodies wouldn't change no matter how much they trained, they wouldn't gain muscle, and neither would they become fat if they overate. A vampire's body has been frozen since the moment they became a vampire. For Emmett, that was a century ago, while for Alex, it had been less than a week. Though I still have blood pumping through my veins, some of my functions as a human still remain, such as my ability to eat normal food and not just blood, Alex thought. I should check that with Carlisle in the future when I have a better relationship with the Cullens and I can trust them. Alex nodded as he continued running. It was already the last lap. Everyone around him besides Emmett was already sweating as he huffed out puffs of hot air from the exertion. Thank God Jasper isn't here, or the floor would have already been covered with mangled corpses, Alex thought as the laps finally ended. All right, everybody. Now we will do some stretching exercises, the physical ED professor said. Aren't we supposed to do stretching before running? I mean, yeah, it's good to do it after as well, but I heard doing it before you start physical exertion is even more important. Well, my professor also did the same thing in my past life. Alex thought as he put his index finger on his chin, his eyes closed. He opened his eyes a few seconds later when he heard the hushed voices on the other side of the gym. Isn't he handsome? Yeah, he looks beautiful as if he comes straight out of a movie. Totally, he would do so well as an actor. Hey, is he looking at us? Kaya. God, it feels good, but also so damn embarrassing to hear that. Alex thought as he tried to forget he had ever heard the girls. The professor then ordered the students to form a circle as he stood in the middle and asked them to repeat his movements and do the stretching exercises. Weirdly, Alex ended up being right next to Emmett. This is really starting to seem like less of a coincidence, Alex thought as he stared at the bear-like man doing the stretching exercises. Deciding that he wouldn't be the one to start the conversation, Alex copied the gym teacher as he copied his stretching poses. How in the hell did they not get annoyed at having to repeat high school yet? Alex thought. As he followed a pose, he would never like anyone to see him doing something, but since everyone else was doing it, he also shared their pain. I've totally become a better person. If it were the past world me, then I would have already taken videos of this shit, Alex thought and then shook his head, trying to get rid of the tempting thoughts, only to stop. Right. My current phone is so trash that even if I take a video, you probably can't recognize who is who, Alex thought as sadness at the missing technology gripped his heart. Either way, I promised myself earlier this week that I would be less of a jackass, especially to Bella, even though I only acted like how I usually did with my friends back on my Earth. Alex thought as he continued to rotate his waist in a clockwise rotation. Maybe I was never a good friend even back then, huh? Alex thought as the rotation continued. And it continued for another minute. Okay, when is this bullshit going to be over? Alex thought as veins finally started appearing on his forehead. Thankfully, the professor stopped right at that moment, a sweat drop going down from his temple as the man thought. I feel like I just escaped something. The stretching exercises finally ended, and the gym professor told them to do or play whatever they wanted before he went to his office at the corner of the hall. At that moment, Alex heard a voice from his left. So you're Alex, right? I'm Emmett, Alice's brother, Emmett said as he turned to face Alex. Alex turned around, his expression clear of sweat, just like Emmett's, so unlike the rest of the humans around them. It's creepy, though I'm creepy as well now, Alex thought as he stared at the man who hadn't released a drop of sweat from all of what they had done since the beginning of the class. Yeah, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you, Emmett, Alex said as he extended his hand for a handshake. A large grin appeared on Emmett's face as he took Alex's hand and shook it. So, do you like training? Emmett asked as he headed for a bench nearby. Well, not really. I just like to be fit and healthy, not really into bodybuilding, Alex said as he took a seat next to Emmett on the bench. Really? Your physique is pretty amazing. You did all that exercise and didn't get tired at all, Emmett said as he turned to stare at Alex. I just got lucky. I like running a lot, so I do it often, so running this much isn't even a warm-up, Alex said as he held his chin with his hand and stared at the people playing basketball on the court. Cardio isn't really my thing, but it's definitely important for your health, Emmett said as he watched the boys play basketball as well. Alex turned towards Emmett and nodded, showcasing he understood. Yeah, it can be pretty boring to run in the gym. That's why I usually run on the side of the road or in the forest. It's so much more refreshing and you get a nice view while at it, Alex said as he watched someone dunk. That sounds like something my brother would do, Emmett said. Your brother, which one? Alex replied though he wasn't really putting much thought into the conversation. Edward, heard you don't like him much, Emmett said as turned to face Alex. Alex turned around to face Emmett as well, a small grin on his face as he answered. Well, the guy didn't really that good of an impression on my sister Bella. And you know, I don't really like it when people think my sister smells so vile that it's a pain to even sit with her for an hour during class, Alex said. Emmett released a short laugh and then replied as he put a hand over Alex's shoulders. He had a stomachache that day. It wasn't Bella's fault at all. You can tell her that, Emmett said as he tried to explain how Edward didn't mean it. Right, I remember something about him going to the school staff and asking if he could change classes though. Maybe I remembered wrong, huh, Emmett? Alex said as he remembered how Bella had seen Edward ask for a class change. She didn't actually tell me, but I remember it from the books, Alex thought as he stared at Emmett. His grin had now taken a mischievous look as he waited to hear how Emmett would get out of this one. Emmett just stared at Alex for a moment and then burst into bright, boisterous laughter. Alex stood there confused as he looked at the vampire, who was acting like someone who had inhaled Joker's laughing gas. Is his head broken? Alex thought. You got me, yeah. Edward was just being a little shithead that day. I don't really know why either. But yeah, he feels bad about it and will apologize when he comes back on Monday, Emmett said as he rubbed the back of his head. Right, well, you're his brother, so it's only natural you were going to make an excuse for him, Alex said as he nodded toward Emmett, showing he understood. Thanks. Glad you understand that I can't just not help out my brothers. Now, what else do you do besides running? Do you have any other hobbies? Emmett asked as he continued the conversation. Well, I used to play video games a lot, but now I've kind of left it behind since I came to Forks. Don't really have any gaming consoles at my dad's house, Alex said, and then felt Emmett turn towards him abruptly. You play video games? Emmett said, his honey-colored eyes wide open as he stared in what Alex thought was excitement. Yeah, is that such a big deal? Alex answered as he showed a confused look, even tilting his head. Yeah, I've been trying to find someone to play with, but there just isn't anyone here in Forks. I've been stuck either playing online or single-player games, Emmett said as he shook Alex's shoulders, causing his whole body to shake as well. Okay, now stop shaking me, Alex said as Emmett finally stopped shaking his body. Why didn't you just play with your siblings if you wanted to play with someone? Alex asked Emmett, confused. Emmett just looked at him for a second and then sighed in what appeared to be sadness. They're trash, the lot of them. I play with them sometimes, but when someone doesn't really like video games, then they will never get good of them, and it's not fun to win every time against them. I don't even have to try, and they lose, Emmett said as he expressed his deep sadness. Alex looked at him for a moment and then nodded and replied. I see. I don't get you at all, Alex said as he nodded his head as if he had understood everything. Emmett turned to Alex and asked in confusion, What don't you get? Isn't it boring to always win and there to never be any amount of difficulty? Emmett asked Alex. Alex then turned towards Emmett and made an expression as if he was about to criticize some small kid on the road. You know what the best thing about playing with other people in real life is, Emmett? Beating them so badly that you can hold it over their head for months until they burst out in frustration and anger, Alex said as he remembered his past life, how he used to play games against his friends, and all the gloating they would do to each other when they lost. I'll forever remember those days as the peak gaming form in my life, Alex thought as he remembered his 13-day win streak against his friends. They almost decided to beat me up by the 13th day. Good times, Alex thought as a grin took hold of his face. Emmett just stood there as he watched Alex for a few moments. Right, I guess you don't understand me after all, Emmett said as he nodded his head awkwardly. Don't worry, Emmett, it'll make you understand when I gloat to your face for weeks on end when we play together, Alex said as he nodded as if he had imparted some divine knowledge on how to achieve nirvana. Right, Emmett nodded as his brow twitched. Ring ring. The bell signaling the end of the class rang as the students started heading towards the changing rooms. Well, it seems like that's the end of class. I'm going to go change up and head towards my next class so I can choose a good spot, Alex said to Emmett as he slapped his back and waved toward him. All right, see you around, Alex, Emmett said as he waved back. See ya. Alex replied as he disappeared into the changing room. The next class on Alex's schedule was English. When he arrived at the class, he found that there were no vampires around and could finally release a sigh of relief. They sure are fun to be around. After all, they are literally vampires who wouldn't want super powerful friends who could break trees with a punch. It's not nice for my nerves when they keep asking questions, and I have to double-think everything I say to avoid messing up and saying something out of the ordinary, Alex thought as he sat down and waited for the professor to come. Unlike other students, where I don't have to worry much if I slip up, who is going to believe that I'm actually a vampire? They would rather think I was insane or even they themselves were insane before believing that I was a vampire, Alex thought as he stared out of the window. Clouds were still overshadowing Forks, and there were no rays of sunlight in sight. Unless you literally see someone stop a car from crushing you as Bella did, Alex thought as the professor finally came and the class started. It was overall boring, in Alex's opinion, so he didn't really concentrate and instead spent his time looking out of the window at the cloudy sky. Ring ring. The bell rang once more, signaling the end of the class and the start of lunch. Getting up from his seat, Alex put his English book in his backpack and slung it over his shoulder, walking towards the classroom's exit. He continued through the halls towards the cafeteria while he avoided the hordes of students. The food is trash. I do not even know why I'm going at this point, and it's not as if I'm talking with anyone besides Mike, who I'm sure I could get to come with me and eat outside, Alex thought as he walked. I guess I'm just going for Bella. While she doesn't really like me right now, I'll go keep her company. I don't really want to have a bad relationship with my sibling in this second life of mine, Alex thought as he smiled to himself. He had checked through the memories of past Alex during the week and found that he and Bella had a very close relationship. They told each other everything. It was almost what he would call the ideal sibling relationship. I don't want to ruin that, and it's nice having someone you always know will be at your back, someone who will never betray you. Though I'm sure Bella feels betrayed right now, whilst I thought I was acting well in front of her, I was merely a shell of what the past Alex was, Alex thought as he finally arrived at the cafeteria doors. Going inside, he found, as always, that he was one of the last people to arrive. It almost looked like he was late when, in fact, it was just the others who had rushed. Looking around the room, he found the Cullens about to sit at their table at the end of the hall. Well, it seems like they didn't rush either, Alex thought as he headed directly towards Bella's table, not deciding to get anything to eat. It's usually disgusting. I'd rather just eat something when I get home, Alex thought. Eating wasn't needed at all, but it was a human habit that he decided to keep, both to uphold his normal human identity and because eating food was also a nice experience. As he was about to arrive at the table, he noticed someone waving at him. It was Alice. She was waving at him from the Cullens' table. Deciding to go and see what was going on, Alex passed Bella's table, waved at them, and headed towards Alice. Arriving at the Cullens' table, a sense of pressure started grasping Alex. I'm pretty sure I can defeat them all, but it's still pretty frightening knowing you are literally talking to vampires. Alex thought at least until the next thought suddenly popped into his mind. If they weren't disco vampires, that is, Alex joked inwardly, and the pressure was gone just like that. His shoulders, which had been minutely guarded, relaxed as he took a more carefree form. It wasn't really noticeable unless you looked really hard, but the Cullens seemed to have noticed, or at least Jasper did, as he raised his eyebrow slightly. Waving at Alice and the others, Alex said, "Hey Alice, what's up? Nice to see you again as well, Emmett, Jasper, Edith," Alex said and turned to Rosalie. "I haven't gotten the chance to meet you. However, I'm Alex." "Nice to meet you," Alex said as he introduced himself to the gorgeous blonde sitting next to Emmett. However, Rosalie didn't even deign him with a reply as she just messed with the food on her plate, her expression a natural frown. Emmett burst out laughing as he said, Don't mind her, Alex, she's Rosalie." Alex nodded as he had expected this outcome from a mile away and then turned to Alice once more as he waited for her to answer his question. Alice just perked up as she turned to look at Alex. Her eyes had taken a darker hue than when he had last seen her. They're almost black. I'm not sure when the last time she fed was, but it's getting pretty close. Why don't they just do this more often instead of endangering the others like this? Alex thought as he stared at her eyes and noticed how they seemed to almost shine. "Well, I just wanted to ask if you wanted to eat lunch with us today, Alex," Alice said, her voice as joyful and exuberant as ever. Alex thought for a moment and then answered in a sorry voice. "Sorry, Alice. My sister really isn't super comfortable around new people on her own, so I'll be sitting at her table for a while until she gets fully accustomed to the people around here. Maybe next week?" Alex said. Alice's expression turned slightly downcast as she nodded. "I understand. Next week then, right?" Alice asked, her voice colored with hope. Alex nodded, a smile on his face as he answered. "Of course, Alice. We're friends, and I don't like lying to my friends," Alex said as he nodded his head towards Alice. Turning towards the rest of his table, Alex said, "Well then, I'll have to be going now. See you guys next week." Alex waved his hand goodbye and started heading back toward Bella's table. Emmett, Jasper, Edith, and Alice gave their goodbyes as well, with only Rosalie staying silent throughout. As he was going farther away, Alex's super hearing did its work as intended as he heard Rosalie talk in what he thought was the vampire speech shown in the movies. "Why are we associating with a human?" Rosalie said, her brows furrowed as she looked at the others at the table. "Human? From the fact that Alice can't seem to see him in any of her visions, then I seriously doubt that he is human," Edith said towards Rosalie, her voice equally cold as Rosalie's. "That's right. You and Edward can't hear his thoughts either, but you also can't hear his sister's thoughts. But Alice said she can see Bella in her visions," Jasper said as he nodded in the direction of Bella. "That's true," Emmett said. His voice sounded much more severe than Alex thought he would ever hear him be. Alice then spoke for the first time since the conversation had started. "He has done nothing strange since he arrived here. We aren't even sure if he isn't human or if it's just the evolved form of the gift his sister has," Alice said, her voice just as serious as the others, though it still carried a somewhat soft tone, or at least Alex thought so. Being able to escape Alice's visions is both a boon and a danger. It means that she cannot gather information about me from the future or predict my actions, but that also means that I'm abnormal. No regular human should be able to escape her vision. However, she shouldn't be able to see Bella in her visions either if she's around me. I wonder," Alex thought as he arrived at Bella's table. "Hey guys," Alex said as he sat down on his usual seat next to Bella. "Hey Alex, what's up?" Mike said from the other side of the table. The others also greeted Alex, though they didn't talk to him much. They had learned that Alex didn't like to talk much over the last week. "It's not that I don't want to talk. The gossip you guys talk about isn't interesting or something I care about. Why should I care what Cassie's boyfriend did to her?" Alex thought as he shook his head lightly. It seems like the conversation over there has also ended, Alex thought as he looked at the Cullen table from the corner of his eye. Either way, it's going to come out into the open sooner or later. I just need to build a better relationship with them so that nothing out of the ordinary, like me getting exposed to the Volturi, happens, even if the chances are so low. I don't want to take any risks, Alex thought. "So what did Alice talk to you about, Alex?" "Jessica, the greatest gossiper of humankind," asked Alex. And here I thought I had escaped her notice. The godly gossiper truly is unbeatable, Alex thought to himself as he turned to face the young woman. "Nothing much. We became friends during art class, and she asked if I wanted to sit with them for lunch. But I didn't want to just leave you guys randomly, so I told her we could sit together next week." Alex explained what had happened, hoping to God that he wouldn't hear some random rumors going around school next week. It would be amazing if the rumors didn't start today, Alex thought as he remembered how fast gossip would spread around the school. "Yeah, right. I'm telling Jessica some random gossip is going to start rampaging around. After all, in high school, once someone knows something, it will spread like wildfire, and almost everyone saw me go and talk to them at the table. It's guaranteed 2 hours max before I hear them talk about it in the halls," Alex thought, releasing a small sigh as he tried not to think about it anymore. "Oh, it seems like they can talk to someone else, huh? I thought they were so caught up in themselves that everyone else was simply bugs in front of their eyes," Jessica said as she turned to continue her chat with Angela. "You shouldn't say that, Jess," Angela said softly. However, Jessica just rolled her eyes and continued her conversation. Dear Jess, have you perhaps ever tried to be friends with them and not just ask them out on a date? Even then, you decided to pick Edward, the hardest one to talk to. If you had talked to Alice, I'm sure she would have accepted you as her friend easily," Alex thought as he drummed his fingers on the table while he listened to the others talk around the table. Lunch ended as soon as the students got up and headed toward their classes. Alex stood seated momentarily as he watched the students walk out of the cafeteria. "You coming, Alex?" Mike said as he got up from the table. "Yeah," Alex said as he got up. Alex looked at the Cullens, who were now leaving the hall as well. They all went to the trash can and threw everything they had gotten for lunch in it. Isn't that way too conspicuous? Are you even trying to hide at this point if you do that? No one will think you're a vampire, but they will think you guys sure are bad-mannered bastards for wasting food every day. Alex thought as he shook his head and followed Mike. Alex followed Mike out of the cafeteria hall because he had stood absent-mindedly for a while. The halls weren't as filled with students as they were right after or right before lunch. "What do you have this hour?" Alex asked Mike as they walked side by side. "Oh," Mike exclaimed, startled for a moment, and then turned towards Alex. "I've got biology." Alex nodded and then asked him, "What's got you so deep in thought?" Mike's eyes opened wider as he turned to face Alex again and asked in a bewildered tone, "How did you know?" "What do you mean, Mike?" "How did I know?" "You literally got startled when I asked what class you have this hour," Alex thought, shaking his head lightly at his friend. "Well, what's up?" Alex said, deciding not to answer Mike's question at all. Mike didn't talk for a few moments, but he turned to look ahead of him as he walked. "You know I like Jessica, right? But it just doesn't look like it's ever going to be a thing, not with how she keeps looking at the Cullens as if they're some god-sent deities or something," Mike said, his voice low as he walked. Alex looked at the man momentarily and then slapped his forehead loudly. Mike turned to look at Alex, confused as he asked, his voice clearly showing his surprise. "What?" Alex huffed as he put his arm around Mike's shoulder. "Mike, my guy, just likes you." She might have looked at the Cullens and thought it would be cool to be with them as they were the most famous people in the school, but after they rejected her, she just gave up. She had no feelings for them. "She actually likes you, Mike." "I've seen how she looks at you," Alex said as he tried to bring up Mike's mood. "I know that they had a brief relationship after the prom, but that is in the future. I honestly don't even know if she likes you right now, Mike, but being confident is better than not, right?" Alex thought as he nodded his head, trying to make his words to Mike more logical in his own head. Mike stood silent for a few moments and then said, his voice still clouded from what Alex thought was sadness. However, it was complicated to say exactly what emotion it was. "I don't know, Alex." "Thanks for trying to cheer me up, however," Mike said as he smiled and raised his fist for a fist bump. Alex smiled and met the fist with his own. "Look, man, I still think Jess likes you, but even if she doesn't, I'll always be here if you need to open up or just go play some basketball or something. Maybe even go watch some movie and get a few drinks," Alex said as he patted Mike's back. "Thanks, Alex," Mike said as he smiled and patted Alex's back just like he had done to his. "Of course, anytime," Alex said as he walked with Mike until the bell rang, that is. Is that the first or second bell, Mike?" Alex asked as he froze suddenly. Mike turned to look at Alex as he laughed at Alex's stumped expression. "Afraid it's the second, Alex," Mike said, a grin on his face. Alex's shoulders slumped as he sighed audibly. "Well, it seems like I won't be going to class then. What about you, Mike?" Alex said as he faced Mike. "I would love to keep you company, Alex, but I really have to go." "See you later," Mike said as he waved his hand. "All right, see you later, Mike," Alex said as he waved his hand and turned to walk towards the outside of the school. "Dumb math teacher says that I'm not allowed to come in if I'm behind the second ring of the bell," Alex thought in annoyance as he opened the school's front doors and went outside. Looking around, he quickly found some wooden benches where he could sit. "I used to skip class almost every day when I was in school. Now that I think about those times, it's not something to be proud of. I wish I had more time to have fun and joke around with my friends instead of running away so much," Alex thought as he remembered his past life. His expression took on a sad undertone. It was doubtful if anyone could even notice it if they looked at him, however. "Hey, what got you in such a slump?" A voice was heard as someone sat on the bench next to Alex. Alex turned his head, startled that someone could possibly sneak up on him. "I should be able to even hear their heart beating. It should be impossible for them to sneak up on me," Alex thought, at least until he saw who had talked to him. Seated right next to him was Alice Cullen. "I see, no, I don't. How the hell did she walk so quietly? Is she a cat or something? And most importantly, what's she doing here?" Alex thought as he looked at Alice for a few seconds, no words leaving his mouth as he remained startled. "What's wrong? You decided to become mute, or did a cat eat your tongue?" Alice said, her expression showcasing her ever-present smile, though Alex thought it looked more mischievous than happy at the moment. "No, I'm just wondering what you're doing out here and not in class." You shouldn't be with some hooligan who skips classes now, should you? Alex asked, his expression also turning into the same mischievous smile. Alice looked at Alex for a moment, made a thinking pose, put her index finger on her chin, and then acted as if she suddenly had found the answer. What if I'm the hooligan, though? You're the son of the police chief. Shouldn't you follow his example and uphold the rules? Alice asked, her voice making it sound as if she were some innocent child asking an obvious question. Alex's brow started twitching as he looked at her. Life is unfair. How can you make an expression like that when you're hundreds of years old? Life is unfair. How can you make an expression like that when you're hundreds of years old? Alex thought as he looked at Alice. You a hooligan? Oh no, I'm scared. I need to tell my dad and send you to jail, Alex said as he faked a scared voice. Alice looked at him for a moment and then said, We need to get you to practice changing your voice more. That was too unbelievable. Who do you think you're going to fool with that? Alice said, her voice sounding disappointed. She's good, Alex thought as he stared at Alice. Turning around to face forward again, Alex sat back down, pressed his back against the bench, and sighed. School sure is draining sometimes, you know, Alice? Alex said, his tone lacking the constant teasing undertones it usually had. Alice looked at him briefly and nodded as she laid back down fully and looked at the cloudy sky. Yeah, I get the feeling sometimes. It's all right, though, as you have your family and friends around you, Alice said as she looked at the clouds converging on the sky slowly, a reminder of the storm about to come in a few hours. Alex sat silent for a while, simply staring ahead with a somewhat absent-minded look in his eyes. Yeah, sometimes it gets a bit hard, but you've got to look forward, huh? Time doesn't wait for anybody after all, does it? Alex said, his voice carrying a barely noticeable tone of sadness. Alice didn't reply immediately. It took so long that Alex thought she wouldn't reply at all. You're right, Alex. Sometimes it does get hard, and sometimes you question your own decisions, but those same decisions are what make you, you. Sure, we could sit and think about what if I had done something different, but time isn't going to rewind itself. That's why you should always be in the present. Sometimes you shouldn't even look into the future and merely live in the moment, Alice replied, her voice soft and velvety. Alex nodded. His thoughts, however, were still jumbled together into one massive mess. Was it the right decision to come here? Should I have wished for something different? Should I have just wished to be in heaven, or maybe even a copy of my own world where I had my original parents? Alex thought as he stared at the cars in the parking lot. Sigh. Putting his hands on his knees, Alex pushed himself up from the bench and turned to face Alice. Thanks, Alice, Alex said. Alice simply showed a close-eye smile, and 2 dimples appeared on her cheeks as she nodded at Alex. Anytime. Alex stared at her for a few moments and then gave her a small smile. You're a good friend, you know? Alex said, his voice sounding like he was teasing. However, he wasn't. Sometimes, it was hard to say something like that without trying to fake it, to make it seem like a joke. Shaking his head lightly, Alex pushed those thoughts out of his head. While I can sit here and mope around all day, it won't do me any favors. If I can't push forward, how can I believe my parents back in my old world could? I need to move on, not forget them, but accept the situation. Alex thought as he turned to look at the sky. It sure does look beautiful, doesn't it? Alex said to Alice as he nodded toward the sky. Yeah, sometimes, when I look at the clouds in the sky, I remember how little we are in this world. How our problems, which seem to be overwhelming, are just a small grain of sand in this world, Alice said as she got up from the bench and went towards Alex. Alex turned to face her. I'll have to go now as I have to finish some work at home. Until next time, Alex. Alice said as she waved at Alex, her joyful expression back in its usual place. Alex smiled as he nodded. Yeah, see you later, Alice, Alex said as he waved back and stared at Al.Ice, seemed to almost have a skip in her steps as she walked towards the silver Volvo in the parking lot. The smile didn't leave his face until she disappeared from view behind rows of cars. His heart had unknowingly started beating faster, though he didn't notice it. All right, let's get back inside and wait for classes to start once more, Alex thought as he turned to walk inside the school. His heart slowly calmed down as he got further away from the bench. until it regained its average pace, a slow, steady rhythm as it pumped out his blood. Opening the school doors, Alex went in and headed towards a small area in the central hall. Putting his head back against the wall, he waited for the bell's ring. Looking at the clock on the wall opposite him, Alex saw that it was still half an hour before the next class. I really should graduate early this time. I thought that it would be nice to go through it once again, but I guess I was wrong, Alex thought. He then looked around to see if there was anyone skipping class like him, or even someone who had been kicked out of the class for causing a disturbance. Quickly, he noticed another boy heading towards the exit of the school. Alex started following him and headed outside. "Hey," Alex called out to the boy, who turned around and looked at him confused. "Hey," the boy said, confused as he looked at Alex, who got closer. Arriving next to the boy, Alex asked him, "Hey, do you have a cigarette?" Alex's eyes glowed an eerie red as he asked the question. "Yeah," the boy answered. He looked dazed, his eyes having lost their luster. "Give me one," Alex said as he extended his palm. The boy took one out of the pack in his pocket and put it on Alex's palm. Alex asked the boy for a lighter as well. He burned the cigarette's tip as he took a long drag, releasing a puff of smoke. Turning to face the boy once more, Alex told him, "Forget this ever happened," Alex said as he put the lighter in the boy's pocket and turned around, heading for a more secluded spot on the side of the school. Wisps of smoke flowed into the air as he walked. A while later, the bell rang, and Alex went inside the school once more and headed towards his next class. He remained silent as the hours passed. It seemed like he didn't have a class with any of his friends for the rest of the day. The final ring of the bell for the week sounded as the students grabbed their backpacks and headed outside, happy for the weekend. Walking outside the classroom, Alex headed towards the school's main hall to wait for Bella. It didn't take long for him to see her coming with Jessica and Angela by her side. "Hey, girls," Alex said as he waved at them. Jessica turned to face Alex as she tried to make herself look as cute as she could and waved hello. "Just stop, please," Alex thought as he barely held back the look of disgust on his face. "Hey Alex," Angela said, and she waved at him, a shy smile on her face. Truly fitting of her name. She is an angel from heaven when compared to her best friend, Alex thought as he nodded and then waited as Bella said her goodbyes. Finally, after what looked like a lot of unnecessary hugging to Alex, Bella came next to him and they walked out of the school toward their old truck. "Anything fun happened?" Alex asked Bella as he threw her the keys to the truck. Bella tried to catch them only to fail as they ended up on a puddle on the ground. Alex and Bella stood frozen for a second, and then Alex crouched down, took the keys wordlessly, and cleaned them up with the underside of his shirt, and offered them to Bella to grab this time instead of throwing them away. "Thanks," Bella said as she entered the truck and sat in the driver's seat. Alex nodded as he did the same and sat on the front passenger seat. Turning towards Bella once more, Alex asked, "So, anything happened?" Bella nodded as she turned to him, her face showing a smile, though Alex didn't like it one bit. That smile is bad news for sure, Alex thought to himself. "So there's this rumor going around," Bella said as she made her voice sickeningly sweet. Alex froze and then mechanically turned to face the front. "I don't want to hear it," Alex said, his voice just as robotic as his movement. "Oh? You do not want to hear it? I guess Charlie can listen to me since you do not want to," Bella said as she hummed under her breath. Alex turned to face Bella immediately. He nodded his neck quickly as if he were a pigeon taking crumbs off the ground. "Of course I want to hear you, Bella." "Tell me," Alex said as he almost jumbled his words. Bella nodded her expression, the same mischievous one that Alex had held so often. Alex stared at her for a moment and grinned slightly. "I guess she is my sister, huh? So there's this rumor going around about you and this Alice girl you know?" Bella said as she reversed the truck out of the parking lot. "Alice? That's just a friend of mine. We're not like what those people think we are," Alex said as he tried to explain himself, his hands waving around in nonsensical movements, as if that would help him. "Right, but they say that this Alex girl called you when we were in lunch, and I can confirm after you told us, but they say you two were even standing so close to each other as you looked into each other's eyes," Bella said. As each word was spoken, the harder it looked like she was trying to hold back her laughter. Alex momentarily looked like he had given up on life as he released an exaggerated sigh. We got found out so quickly. It's true, Bells. She and I have been together for years, but Charlie and her parents have never allowed us to be together. We actually have this family feud between us, but me and Charlie never told you, Alex said as he infused his voice with as much sadness as he could, closing his eyes and swiping his finger under his eyes as if he were clearing his tears away. Pfft. Bella couldn't hold it in anymore as he burst out laughing. Stop, please stop. I can't anymore, Bella said as she barely managed to utter the words amid the guffaws of laughter. Turning the steering wheel, Bella finally took the truck onto the road, and they started driving home. But Bells, it's crucial that you know. What if they do something to you because they can't stand seeing me and Alice? Now both families know that we are together, Alex said as he turned to look at Bella, his expression concerned. Stop. I'll stay away from them, Romeo. Don't worry about me, and just have fun with your Juliet, Bella said as she finally got her bursts of laughter under control. Sigh. Thank God. I at least know that you can avoid them and keep yourself as safe as possible now, Alex said as he looked out the window. Bella sighed and pushed the pedal to make the truck go faster. However, all it did was make a louder rumble as its body shook more. You overused the joke. It was funny though, Bella said as she turned around a corner. Damn, I still have room for improvement, Alex said as he nodded, and silence took over in the car once more. Unlike the past week, however, the silence was pleasant. The only sounds were the slow rumble of the old truck and the sound of wheels on soaked asphalt. The ride didn't take long, and they arrived at their house quickly. It was just on the periphery of Forks. It's a nice house, Alex said, more to himself than to Bella. Yeah, it's nice that Charlie saved our rooms as they were, too, Bella replied. Yeah. After parking the truck in front of the garage, Bella turned it off, grabbed her backpack, and exited the car. Alex did the same as he got out of the truck and followed Bella inside. Hearing the sound of the TV, he looked only to see Charlie, Billy Black, and Jacob sitting on the couch as they ate pizza and cheered on their baseball team. Hey, Bella waved her hand awkwardly. Oh, hey, Bells, Alex. How did school go today? Charlie turned around as he said. Billy and Jacob also waved as they smiled at the sibling duo. Hey, Dad, the school went great. I made some friends and had some fun as usual, Alex said, smiling as he waved at them. So, what are you guys watching? Alex said as he went near the couch and gave a handshake in greeting to Billy and Jacob. It's the quarterfinals, and though the Washington Nationals are currently losing, we're hoping for a turnaround right now, Billy said as he explained what was going on. Well, good luck then. I hope your team wins. I don't know much about baseball. I'm more of a basketball kid, Alex said as he nodded toward the TV. I can tell you all about it if you want to learn, Alex, Jacob said, his voice sounding excited. Alex heard Bella head upstairs silently in the background. Don't leave me alone, Bells, Alex thought, but sadly, his sister didn't have the superpower of telepathy. Faced with Jacob, who looked so excited at the prospect of teaching him about the sport, Alex almost didn't have a choice at this point. He would definitely look like a kicked puppy if I said no, and while being able to see that expression is extremely intriguing, I'll spare you this time, Jacob, Alex thought as he nodded. All right, let me grab a chair so I can sit, and then you can explain it to me. Jacob's and Charlie's faces lit up at his response, looking like he had made both of their days. In the past, Alex and Jacob used to play together in the woods near the reservation, so I guess he just misses having time with his friend, Alex thought. I'll get my backpack in my room real quick, and I'll be right back, Alex said once he thought for a moment and nodded towards the stairs. Charlie, Billy, and Jacob nodded in understanding as they turned around and focused on the baseball game once more. Heading upstairs, Alex went to his room and simply slung the backpack onto his bed and closed the door. Before heading downstairs, however, he went to Bella's room, where he knocked. Alex heard some ruffling around before he heard a voice. Come in, Bella's voice was heard saying. Opening the door, Alex came into the room and sat on her computer chair. Hey, Bells, do you want me to order you any food? It doesn't seem like those guys are going to be leaving any pizza, Alex said, motioning his head toward the door. Bella shook her head as she said, No, it's fine, Alex. I'm not really hungry, and I'll just order or cook something myself later. Alex nodded and then opened his mouth to say something, only to close it once more. Sigh. Is this the time you're going to explain why you changed and what's happening? Bella said, her voice sounded somehow tired. Alex stopped for a moment and then nodded. Yeah, though I can't really explain what's going on right now as it's not something I'm comfortable with. I just wanted to say sorry, Alex said as he looked Bella in the eyes. Huffing out, Bella looked at him, and her expression seemed to change multiple times before it finally settled into what appeared to be acceptance. It's all right, when you can tell me then I know you will. Just be all right and safe, okay? Bella said as she nodded, more so to herself than to Alex. A smile graced Alex's lips as he nodded and said quickly, enthusiasm coating his voice. Of course. As soon as I can, I will tell you, and it's nothing dangerous, so you don't have to worry, Alex said as he got up from the computer chair and went to the door. Well, I'm going downstairs to watch the baseball match with the guys. If you want anything, then either send me a message on my phone or just come call me, Alex said as he pointed towards the stairs. Bella nodded. Alex then turned around and started heading downstairs. Hey, stop. Close the door. Alex. Alex. Bella tried to call him, but he didn't mind her at all as he headed downstairs. That bastard, Bella muttered as she got up and closed the door. Alex, meanwhile, arrived downstairs, grabbed a chair from the dinner table, and brought it next to the couch. Hey, so how about you explain the game, Jacob? Alex said once he sat down and pointed his head towards the TV. Right, so Jacob started as he explained the rules of baseball, from the basic ones to even some of the most obscure ones. Alex sat there and listened while they watched the game together, eating a slice of pizza once in a while as they talked among each other about what was happening in the game. The hour quickly passed as the game came to a close. Getting up from the chair, Alex stretched his arms and grabbed the chair to put it back at the dinner table. Once he returned to the couch, Billy and Jacob were already on their feet, saying their goodbyes to Charlie. Already going? Alex asked them as he watched them finish their goodbye to Charlie. Billy and Jacob turned to Alex as they nodded. Yeah, we're going, Alex. Thanks for accommodating us, Billy said as he nodded and shook Alex's hand. It was my pleasure. You guys are like family, Alex said as he shook Billy's hand, who smiled at hearing his words. Jacob also gave his goodbye, and the father-son duo headed outside. Closing the door, Alex released a sigh. They're nice guys, but when someone's around your home, you just can't fully relax, Alex thought. Heading back inside the living room, Alex saw Charlie getting the pizza box and putting it in a trash bag. Leave that stuff to me, Dad, Alex said as he nodded toward the trash that had gathered around the couch. No, it's fine, Alex, I can do it myself, Charlie said as he tried to refuse. No, just let me do it, all right, Dad? Just go upstairs and get a good sleep. I know you're exhausted already, Alex said as he pointed towards the stairs. Charlie stood there trying to argue, but once he saw Alex's face, he released a sigh and nodded. Thanks, Alex, Charlie said, his voice now truly showcasing just how tired the man was from the day's work. It's all right, Dad. I didn't do anything tiring today either way, and it's just some cleaning, Alex said as he took a broom from the kitchen and headed toward the couch. All right, Alex. I'll be going to sleep then. It's still pretty early, but I will have to wake up early tomorrow, Charlie said as he started heading up the stairs. All right, see you tomorrow then, Dad, Alex said as he started cleaning around the couch for any crumbs and flour dust that had dropped while they were eating. The cleaning didn't take long, only a few minutes and Alex was done. He didn't even give out a drop of sweat. Being a vampire sure has its benefits, Alex thought as he brought the broom back to its location in the kitchen. Heading upstairs, Alex went towards his room and sat on his bed. He tried to think of what he could do but found nothing. He could only stare at the ceiling. I really need to buy an MP3 so I can at least listen to some songs, Alex thought as he got up from the bed. I could drive around town and just look at the sights, Alex thought and nodded. Changing clothes into something more comfortable, Alex went outside his room. Might as well see if Bella wants to come, Alex thought as he knocked on her door. Come in. Opening the door, Alex stood at the entrance as he asked her. Hey Bells, wanna go out and drive around town? Don't really have much to do around here. Alex asked Bella, who lifted her head from the book she was reading. No, Alex. I'm studying. Shouldn't you also be doing that? If you lower your grades too much, then I'm telling Charlie, Bella said sternly as she looked at him. But I already have the whole book memorized, Alex thought, then shook his head at Bella. I already studied yesterday, so I'm taking at least today off since it's a Friday. Well, I'll be going out. Also, Dad is asleep, so don't bother him too much. He seemed pretty tired, Alex said as he pointed his head towards the room next door. All right, see you later, Alex. Also, since you're going out, then buy me some chips at the grocery store, Bella said as she went back to reading her book. All right, see you, Alex said as he closed the door and started heading downstairs. Arriving at the front door quickly, Alex went outside and inside the old truck. This truck is a 1963 or 64 Chevrolet, so it sure has paid its dues, Alex thought as he put the key in the ignition and twisted it. It took a few moments and rumbles, but the car's engine finally ignited and started pushing its pistons. Nice, it's old and slow as hell, but it sure does have quite a big roar, Alex thought to himself as he smiled at the old truck. Reversing out of the house, Alex took the truck on the road and started driving. I wonder if there's any park where I can sit in the center of Forks, Alex thought as he drove. Since the truck was so slow, Alex decided that pulling out his phone should be fine. I have super senses as a vampire. If a human can drive a car and text on their phone, then I for sure can, Alex thought as he pulled out his old flip phone. Should I just make the first touchscreen phone myself? Alex thought as he opened the phone. Tring. What's up with that noise? Alex thought as he stared dumbfounded at the phone's noise when he opened it. Looking through the applications, he found that it only had a camera application, a messenger, and a call function. Where are the other applications? Alex thought as despair took over his life. Going into the messenger app, Alex saw his contacts. They were filled with lots of people he didn't know. So many contacts but no messages. Do you even have any friends? Alex wondered about his past self as he stared at all the contacts. There isn't even any past messaging history, either, Alex thought as he tried to check if he had at least sent messages to people, but he found that there was none. Well, whatever, let's just text Mike and Eric and see if they want to hang out, Alex thought as he messaged the boys. However, he received no response even minutes later. Damn, Alex thought to himself. Finally, after a while, he arrived at the center of Forks. There was a grocery store on the side and what seemed like a small park with some wooden benches in the center. There were other shops around, but Alex didn't give them any mind. Driving around, Alex quickly found a parking lot, parked the old truck, and went outside after locking the doors. This thing is so old that a normal human could probably break the doors off their hinges if they tried enough. Alex thought. All right, I'll go grab a drink and some chips for Bella, and then I can sit down on those benches, Alex said to himself as he decided on his afternoon plans. Ring. Heading inside the grocery store, Alex saw an old lady working at the front. Hello, Alex said as he waved at her. Hey, the old woman waved back as she continued reading what Alex thought was a newspaper. After going through the rows of food products, Alex went directly to the soda freezer and took out a Red Bull. Then he headed towards the chips section and grabbed some salted Lays. With those in tow, Alex approached the old woman and put them on her desk. It'll be $5, the old woman said as she put the Red Bull and chips in a plastic bag. Taking out his wallet, Alex gave her the $5 bill and nodded. Thanks. Have a nice day, Alex said as he headed to the exit. You too, the old woman said as she got back into reading her newspaper. Ring. Once outside, Alex first headed towards the truck, where he put the chips in, then closed the door and locked the truck once more. Heading towards the park, Alex looked around, trying to see if anyone was around. Is this some kind of ghost town or something? Alex thought as he found no one in the park or even on the sidewalks outside. Sigh. Am I truly cursed to be alone forever? Alex jokingly thought. Peas, yes, HT. Opening the can of Red Bull, Alex took a sip and opened his phone once more. Traying. God, please let there be a setting where I can turn that sound off, Alex thought and immediately started looking through the settings, but found no option to turn it off. This is bullshit, Alex thought to himself and opened the messenger again to see if anyone had replied, only to find himself deserted by all his friends. Well, Mike and Eric. Disappointed, Alex continued to sip his drink when something came to mind. Right, let's just message Alice, Alex thought, quickly opening his phone again. Traying. This bastard, Alex thought as he almost crushed the phone in his hand. Opening his messenger app once again for what felt like the 100th time to Alex, he scrolled until he found Alice's name and clicked on it. What do I say? Alex thought, and then he just shook his head and messaged her. Hey, what's up? 1812. All right, now let's just hope that she replies, unlike those two bastards, Alex thought as he took another sip of his drink. Finding out that it was the last sip, Alex crushed the can and threw it towards a garbage bin in the distance. TRSHK. The crushed can found its destination and fell right into the garbage bin. Ding. Alex thought, startled as he looked at his phone, which had vibrated. Hey Alex. I'm not really doing anything right now. I'm just watching some TV. What about you? 1813. There, that's a good friend, Alex jokingly thought to himself as a grin overtook his face. Nothing much, just driving around Forks as I can't find anything to do, wanted to ask if you want to join me, 1814. I'm not sure I can go out tonight, maybe another time. 1814. She even sent one of those sad emojis from back in the day, Alex thought as he stared at the emoji made of only symbols. That looks awesome, Alex thought as he tried to make it himself, but he found out that he was miserable at doing them. Why can't there be a copy button? Damn, Alex thought as he shook his head in disappointment. It's all right. Another time then, see you. 1815. Okay, see you, Alex. 1815. What's that cute emoji? I have to learn this. God damn it. Alex thought as he stared at the message for a moment and then sighed as he flipped his phone closed and put it back in his pocket. That flipping sound is satisfying as hell, though, Alex thought as he stood up from the bench and started heading towards the truck. If only this truck had Bluetooth or an AUX or anything, but I can't even play music on it, and all I can do is listen to that broken radio, Alex thought as he unlocked the truck and hopped in the driver's seat. Igniting the engine, the truck rumbled as it started. Reversing out of the parking lot, Alex managed to get the truck onto the road quickly as he started driving home. The road was muddy and soaked with water as always, and the weather was mildly cold as it was almost the end of autumn already. A few minutes later, Alex arrived at his house and parked the truck in front of the garage. The garage is used for Charlie's police car, though I haven't really gone in there, but that's what I'm assuming is in there, Alex thought as he locked the truck, took the chips, and headed inside. Ramble. Hearing the TV on, Alex checked the couch and found that Bella had a sandwich and was watching some movie on the TV. Hey, I'm back, Bells, Alex said as he threw the chips onto the couch and went to wash his hands. Hey, welcome back, Alex. Thanks for the chips, Bella said as she grabbed the chips closer to her. Washing his hands, Alex went to sit on the couch next to Bella. In the movie, Alex saw a scene of a girl crying. Turning to face Bella so he could ask about the film, he found her quickly grabbing the bag of chips and putting it on her other side, away from him. Alex stood there for a moment, frozen. I'm not eating your chips, Bella, Alex said seriously. And I'm just making sure that you aren't eating my chips, Alex, Bella said, holding the same serious expression on her face. Right, anyways, what's the movie about? Alex asked as he turned to face the TV. What do you mean, what's the movie about? It started an hour ago, and I am not explaining anything, Bella said. Right, Alex said as he decided that he shouldn't talk anymore. The birds chirped outside the window as Alex lay on his bed, eyes closed, trying to sleep. However, no matter how hard he tried, it just wouldn't come to him. This is really annoying, especially when I don't have anything to do or games to play, Alex thought as he sighed. The sun had already come over the horizon. It was already 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't want to get up so damn early on a Saturday, damned it, Alex thought as he tried even harder to go to sleep. But it was only an infinite loop of misfortune. The more Alex tried to sleep, the further away he got from it. He truly was a sad existence at this moment in time. Become a vampire, it'll be cool, I thought. Yeah, so damn cool. I could have just asked for regular superpowers, but I had to be a vampire, Alex grumbled under his breath. Well, no reason to stay any longer in bed, Alex thought as he got up from his sleeping position. I could go for a run and then practice controlling my strength more, Alex thought for a moment and then nodded. I'll have to be fully on alert, however, as the forest around my house is under the watch of the wolves. Alex stood up from the bed and headed towards the bathroom, only to find it locked. It's occupied, Bella said from the inside. Don't you dare take hours in there, Bella, Alex said, his voice tinged with annoyance. Don't pressure me, Alex, or I swear I'll stay here until noon, Bella said from behind the door. TCH. Alex turned around and decided to forego a morning shower until he finished training in the forest. Returning to his bedroom, he quickly got dressed in a sweater and a pair of tracksuit pants. Grabbing his phone from where he had left it on top of the computer table, he put it in his pants pocket together with his wallet, just in case he needed it, and went outside his room. Going to the door of the bathroom, Alex almost shouted as he made sure Bella could hear him. I'm going out for a run. I'll be back in an hour or so. He heard a shout of confirmation from the other side of the door. Okay. Nodding his head, Alex went downstairs to find that Charlie had woken up early and already headed off to work. Not stopping to eat anything, Alex headed directly toward the door. At least not needing to eat anything is nice, Alex thought as he put on his running shoes and opened the door. Walking outside, he arrived at the road and started running along the edge. He ran for a few minutes until his house wasn't visible, and then he looked around to see if he could find anyone nearby. Supervision and hearing is really useful for this, Alex thought to himself as he tried to find more and more positives to counterattack his insomnia. That right, being a vampire is awesome, Alex thought as he nodded his head, trying to convince himself as much as he could. Finding no one around him, Alex headed into the forest and started running once more. This time, however, it was different. His speed kept increasing and increasing until it reached superhuman levels. I don't think the truck can reach this speed, Alex thought as a wide grin overtook his face. The adrenaline coursed through his veins as he ran at inhuman speeds. Finally, after he felt like he had gone more than enough inside the forest, Alex stopped and transformed as his hair turned silver and his eyes a crimson red. For the next hour, he repeated what he had done almost a week earlier, but this time, it was much more intensive. An hour later, Alex looked around him and only found felled trees and no animals in sight. There were no alive animals, that is, as he had practiced combining his speed and strength to do some more complicated movements. One of those practices was catching a squirrel. 16 of them had simply exploded into blood, 4 of them had only their organs left, and only one still had its head intact. I still have a long way to go, Alex thought as he stared at the rampage around him. It truly does look as if some monster appeared here and started massacring everything that was around him. Alex got up from the fallen tree trunk he was sitting on and started running towards the road. He was still transformed. While he couldn't control his speed and strength completely, he could even be said to still be a beginner. Alas, he had learned how to maneuver around the trees as he ran, at least. Running at speeds that even other vampires would find supernatural, Alex arrived at the road he had first walked into the forest from in mere seconds. Quickly, he turned off his transformation, and his hair and eyes returned to their typical colors. Huff huff. Releasing puffs of hot air, Alex stood in one spot as he tried to calm himself down. The more I stay in that transformation, the harder it is for me to control my emotions. Even a slight anger could be turned into a blind, furious rampage, Alex thought as he quickly got his heart rate back into its steady rhythm. I told him to remove all negative side effects of being a vampire, so why is this still here? Alex thought as he started running back towards his house. Maybe it's not considered a negative part of the transformation, but rather something essential to it? Alex thought as he continued to run. I'll have to do some checks with Carlisle later. Alex nodded as he removed those thoughts for the moment. I have no way to find out anything like that for now. I simply don't have the medical experience to do a knock tests, Alex thought as he could finally see the outline of his house in the distance. Arriving at the house, Alex entered and put his shoes in the drawer next to the door. I'm back, Alex yelled as he came inside, hearing ruffling from the dining table. Turning to the sound, he found Bella's mouth coated with what looked like strawberry jam as she ate a sandwich. Alex stood there for a moment as a sweat drop rolled down his temple. That looks horrifying. Clean your mouth, will you? Alex said as he went to the kitchen and threw Bella a towel. Bella said as she shook her head. Alex just looked at her momentarily and shook his head in disappointment. Is my sister a barbarian? Alex mumbled to himself, though he was just loud enough that Bella could hear him. He had practiced just the right volume to make it seem as if he had let her hear him on accident. From what Alice said, though, I need to practice even more. Maybe she can teach me the ways, Alex thought to himself as he remembered Alice's perfect fake expressions. Gulp. What do you mean by barbarian? If I'm a barbarian, then what does that make you? My own brother, huh? Bella said as she yelled in Alex's face. Alex could only hold his hands up as he retreated backward, step by step. I'm sorry, Alex said. His words didn't match the smile on his face, however. Turning around, Alex headed towards the stairs and then had a sudden thought. Bella's PC worked in the movies. Alex thought suddenly as he turned to face Bella. Hey, Bells, can I use the computer in your room? Mine doesn't work, Alex asked as he faced Bella. It took a few moments to get an answer, however, as Bella almost choked on her food and had to get up quickly to grab a glass of water. Are you all right? Do you need me to help? Alex said as he looked at his sister. Huh. Releasing a breath of air, Bella finally turned towards Alex and nodded. Yeah, you can use the computer. Don't play any games on it, though, as it's already barely working, Bella said as she sat back down at the dining table. Nodding his head, Alex turned around to head back upstairs. Thanks, Bells, Alex said as he almost ran upstairs. Let's go take a shower first, however, Alex thought as he headed into his room. He took off his clothes, only taking a towel that he wrapped around himself, and headed into the bathroom. What started as a quick shower idea turned into an hour-long hot shower. As soon as the bathroom door opened, white-hot steam started flowing out and engulfing the hallway. That was just what I was needing, Alex thought as he got out of the bathroom with the towel around him as makeshift shorts. Heading into his own room, Alex quickly changed into a comfortable pair of old pants and a hoodie and then headed outside his room, right toward Bella's computer. I can finally access the internet. I have no idea how I could survive this long without it. If I didn't have vampires and superpowers to mess with, then I would already be dead from boredom, Alex thought as he opened Bella's room door. Heading inside, he sat on the computer seat directly as he pressed the computer's power button. Vring. Sound started to be heard as the hard disk inside the computer started turning and making noise as it read the data that was inscribed on it. These old hard disks sure do bring back memories of my childhood, Alex thought as he smiled at the old computer. Now, don't you dare show me a blue screen, Alex thought as he furrowed his brows at the computer, his expression changing in a single second. The computer's screen lit up for a second, becoming bright gray and then black again. No, don't do this, come on. Alex thought as if his encouraging thoughts would make the computer work faster. The screen finally changed color as it showed the Windows XP logging in screen. Hell yes, Alex thought, raising his fist in celebration. And then he stood there for another 5 minutes. Finally, the screen changed once more and showed the desktop. Finally, Alex thought as excitement bubbled through his body. First, let's check out the web and search for any mentions of vampires. I've searched about this countless times in the past in my old world, and I know what there is pretty much. So let's see if there are any differences. Alex thought as he opened Internet Explorer and searched for vampires. Let's go from the simple definition of the world to more selective knowledge that I know from the movies. Alex thought as he waited another minute for the search results to show up. It's not just the computer. Even the internet speed is horrendous, Alex thought as he shook his head sadly. Finally, the search was completed, and he was greeted with a bunch of websites. They were all the same as the ones he had seen in his own world. However, they were all called vampires, creatures of the night who were burned under the sun and were afraid of garlic. That's closer to what I would be if I had all the side effects rather than what the vampires of this world are, Alex thought to himself as he skimmed through the hordes of text on random websites he found. There's nothing that interesting on there when I search for vampires. How about I search for the cold ones then? Alex thought as he typed the words into the search bar. A minute later, Alex stared, surprised at the single article on the search results. Myths of the Native American tribes? Is this supposed to be the website Bella found? Alex thought as he stared at the link on his screen. Alex stood still for a moment and then clicked on the website link. The website opened a while later and showed what looked like a generic web page. It looked closer to a wiki than a forum. Scrolling through the page, Alex saw countless old legends. However, none of them mentioned anything about the cold ones or any supernatural creatures that seemed feasible to exist. There is a Wendigo legend here as well, and considering that the vampires exist, then I can't say that it's untrue. I'll just have to be careful and keep it in mind if something resembling Wendigo kills happens around town, Alex thought as he finally arrived at the part he was most interested in. The cold ones, Alex thought as he started reading the legend. Part of Quileute legend. The cold ones are reanimated corpses that rise from the grave at night to suck the blood of sleeping persons. They are described as having cold, inhumanly pale skin, and are said to only be repelled by the sharp teeth and claws of the wolves. Alex read as he got more and more immersed in the Wikipedia-like page. Only repelled by the claws and teeth of the wolves, huh? Alex thought as a slight grin started showing on his face. They have probably only met wanderers, people who their covens had abandoned. If the Volturi attacked the Quileute tribe, then they would have already been wiped off the face of the earth, Alex thought as he continued reading. In the Quileute legend, the Cold Ones were a threat to the tribe, and to counterattack this extinction-level threat, the tribesmen led by Taha Aki transformed into large wolves and protected the tribe from the bloodsuckers. A notable part of the legend is that to win the life-and-death battle, the leader's wife had to sacrifice her life so Taha Aki could land the finishing blow. This was the entire part about the vampires, or the so-called Cold Ones, in the Quileute legend. That's all that they have? Maybe that's just the amount of information they decided to share with the world. Though I doubt anyone would even be able to find this website if they weren't a friend of a Quileute and were told about their legends, Alex thought as he sighed and closed the website. It's not a lot of information to go on, and with the amount of strength the vultures have, I'd rather not even look them up on the internet. My connection could get found, and then I could have my location tracked, and I don't want to deal with that at the moment. If ever, Alex thought as he went to the browser settings and cleared the history. I don't want Bella to find out that I had already looked at that website when she herself finds it, Alex thought and shut down the computer. Turning around to face the door, Alex thought deeply as he tried to plan his future actions. On the one hand, I really want to be able to talk with the Cullens, joke around, and even ask them about vampire life and what they do. Just have fun. On the other hand, this world isn't a fictional novel, and stuff can and almost always goes wrong in real life, Alex thought to himself as he sighed once more. No point in thinking. I'll take the chance to introduce myself when they decide to tell Bella. Alex decided as he nodded, fully affirming himself to the decision. Getting up from the chair, the computer still had yet to shut down fully. Alex headed outside the room towards his own. Time passed, and soon, it was Monday morning. The chirping of the birds near his window present just like every morning. It feels like they are just taunting me at this point, Alex thought as he sat on his bed. Today is the day when Edward gets back from Alaska and finally comes back to school. It's the day when the story really starts ramping up. From now on, Incidents start to happen one after the other, and you can always expect the unexpected to happen, Alex thought as he got up and headed towards the bathroom. Looking into the mirror, Alex saw his own face. With black hair that went to his ears, equally black eyes, and a sharp nose and jawline, he looked like he was straight from a modeling magazine. Looking into his own eyes, Alex saw their color change as they got brighter and brighter until they turned into a dark crimson color, similar to fresh blood that almost shone in the mirror. His pupils thinned as they turned sharp into a cat-like shape. "Alex, are you inside? Can you hurry up, please?" Bella said as she knocked on the bathroom door. "Yeah, 1 second," Alex responded as his eyes turned back to black just as fast as they had transformed. Brushing his teeth quickly, Alex went out of the bathroom and saw Bella almost jump inside. She closed the door quickly after nearly slamming it in Alex's face. "At least I don't have the need to go to the bathroom anymore," Alex thought. Heading back into his room, Alex got dressed quickly. He wore a black long-sleeved shirt with a thin black leather jacket on top and black jeans. "I do like how I look, but I still miss my old face sometimes," Alex thought as he headed downstairs. Arriving at the dining room, Alex took some bread and 2 sandwiches with jam and put them on the dining table. Sitting down, he waited for Bella to get dressed before taking his phone out and opening the Messenger app. He had created a group chat with Mike and Eric, and they had been texting all night for the past 2 days. They're good kids, Alex thought as if he was any better than them. It didn't take long before Bella came downstairs and sat down on the dining table. Looking at Alex, she asked, confused, "Not eating breakfast?" "No, I'm not really feeling it today. I will just eat lunch at school," Alex said as he nodded toward her. "All right, thanks for the sandwich," Bella said as she nodded her head and started eating. While food still has its taste and feels good to eat, it's still not exactly the same. Food always tastes better when you are hungry, and I'm never hungry now, Alex thought as he slightly shook his head. A few minutes later, Bella finished her breakfast, and they both headed outside towards the truck. Throwing the keys at Alex, Bella asked, "Can you drive today?" "I'm too lazy to." Alex looked at her for a second and nodded. "I can, but how can you miss the chance to drive this beast of a car?" Alex said as he jokingly reprimanded Bella. Bella turned to stare at him and then laughed lightly. "Beast of a car? More of a heap of scrap metal if you asked me." Alex shook his head, making it look as if he was disappointed in Bella. "You will never understand its beauty," Alex said as he hopped in the driver's seat. Similarly, Bella sat on the passenger seat, and Alex started the old truck. Revving up its engine, the truck started making deafening noises as it pushed its engine. "Stop, Alex, it's 6 in the morning. God damned it, I don't want my ears to bleed," Bella yelled at Alex, who only showed her a cheeky grin but nonetheless stopped revving the truck's engine. "I wouldn't stop if I wasn't scared it would just break if I pushed it any longer," Alex thought as he patted the steering wheel, almost like the car was his precious pet. Reversing out of the house, Alex took the truck onto the road and started driving toward Forks High School. As they were driving, Alex tried to turn on the radio, hoping that this time it wouldn't just be jarring noises, but an actual radio station. VRZZZTPZZHHTT. Yeah, no luck, Alex thought as he turned it off again and drove the rest of the way. Arriving at the school's parking lot, Alex parked the old truck as close to the entrance as he could and turned off the car. "All right, we're here." Alex grabbed his backpack as he said. "I can tell," Bella retorted as she hopped off the truck and slammed the door. Alex looked at the truck's still shaking door and almost shed a tear. "I'm sorry, you don't deserve it," Alex thought. Getting off the truck, Alex closed the door and locked the truck as he started walking towards the school entrance. "Hey, good morning, Alex." Turning around, Alex saw Mike and Eric coming as they waved at him. Waving at them back, Alex greeted them. "Hey Mike, Eric." "Good morning to you guys, too," Alex said as he fist-bumped the boys. Turning back around towards the gates, this time walking together with Mike and Eric, Alex noticed that Bella had already left him and headed inside the school. "God damn, she sure acts cold sometimes. Is it that day of the month?" Alex thought as he and the boys headed inside the school. "So anything interesting happened?" Alex asked as they walked down the school's hallways. What do you mean by anything interesting happening? We talked every day, man. Anything that could have happened I have already told you about, Mike said as he walked next to Alex. Alex laughed as he said, It's a saying, Mike, don't have to be so hostile over it. When was I hostile, Alex? I think you're hearing things now. Have you been checked by the doctor yet? I'm sure Dr. Cullen would love to check you for any disease, Mike said as he smugly looked at Alex. Alex froze for a moment and then continued walking as he mumbled. Low blow, man, low blow. What? Everyone in school is already talking about it. About you and Alice, that is. I'm sure Dr. Cullen has already heard about it, Eric interjected from the side. Stop, let's just not talk about it, okay? How am I even supposed to talk to Alice, my friend, when all these rumors are going around? If I talk to her, I feel like the rumors are going to say that I proposed or something, Alex said as they walked. Alex Swan proposes to Alice Cullen. That would be a good title for the school newspaper, Eric muttered absent-mindedly. Alex snapped his head to Eric as he said very slowly, If I see that happen, Eric, then I might just kill you. Alex's eye was twitching as he faced Eric, who cowered behind Mike. I'm just joking, Alex. I would never do that to my friend, Eric said as his voice almost quivered. Alex nodded as he huffed out a breath, pleased with his intimidation tactics. Intimidation tactics? Eric would get scared by a random cat on the road. There's no need for tactics here, Alex thought as he remembered how Eric had done just that last Wednesday. Finally, Alex arrived at his English classroom. This is my stop, guys. See you later, Alex said as he waved at Mike and Eric, who waved back and headed down the hall. Opening the classroom door, Alex headed inside. The teacher had yet to arrive, but it seemed like he was the last student to come inside once more. Heading towards his seat, Alex saw Edith, who was already seated and reading through the English class book. Hey, Edith, Alex said as he sat down on his chair. Hey, Alex, good morning, Edith said, lifting her head from the book and smiling at Alex. Good morning to you, too, Alex replied as he lay his head on the table and waited for the professor to arrive. The hour went by without much talk between Alex and Edith. Mostly, Alex asked Edith about a question he didn't understand even though he had memorized the books. Memorization can only get you so far, huh? Alex thought to himself in those cases as he asked the literal encyclopedia seated right next to him. Looking at Edith with the corner of his eyes, Alex thought, I know that they have passed high school tens of times and even finished college, but damn, does she literally know everything? Shouldn't she be the one teaching the professor in this case? Alex thought. The hour passed quickly as the bell signaling its end rang its tune. Standing up from the chair, Edith started to pack her stuff inside her backpack. Turning to face her, Alex thought momentarily and then opened his mouth as he said, Hey, can you tell Alice that I'm sorry about the rumors going around? I didn't start them or even talk with anyone, but they just began on their own, Alex said as he scratched his cheek. Edith turned towards him and then nodded. I'll tell her, but she already knows it's not your doing, Alex, so you do not have to worry about it. And she's your friend at the end of the day, and you could just tell her your unneeded apology yourself, couldn't you? Edith said, ending her rant with a question directed at Alex. Right, just didn't want to be weird about it, is all, Alex said as he similarly started packing his book and notebooks into his backpack. It's all right. I don't think there's anyone in this world who can beat Alice in weirdness, though you do come close. Maybe that's why you became friends quickly, Edith said as she smiled at Alex. Maybe, Alex replied. Well, I'll be going now, Alex. See you later, and don't forget your promise to eat with us this week. Alice will tear off my eardrums about it if you forget, Edith said as she waved at Alex and started heading off. Right, I won't forget. See you later, Alex said as he waved back, thoughts continuing to run through his mind. How could I forget about that promise when I have been thinking all weekend what I'm going to do in the future? Alex thought as he shook his head lightly. Slinging his backpack over his right shoulder, Alex headed outside the classroom, heading towards his next class. Bella meets Edward at the beginning of the day. If I remember correctly, though I could be wrong, Alex thought as he tried hard to remember how the day went in the original books. It's useless. I have read too much fanfiction, and now it's all jumbled up into one massive mess. Even then, there could be a butterfly effect taking place, and the time they talk could have changed drastically, Alex thought as he walked down the hall. I do remember that Edward apologized and asked Bella about her past and the reason she came to Forks from Phoenix and how it wasn't fair to her if she had to leave Phoenix just so her mother could be happy, Alex thought as he finally arrived at his next class. Spanish, huh? Alex thought as he headed inside. It's much easier to learn a new language when you can memorize the whole dictionary, though the pronunciation and the way to combine the words are still something I would have to practice, Alex thought as he found his usual seat next to the window and sat down. Looking around, he found no one that he knew in the class, so he decided to do what he always did in these situations. Do the thinking pose while he closed his eyes and waited for the hour to go by, even though the seconds felt like minutes and the hours felt like days? I swear, sometimes I think I have some hyperactivity disorder and can't even concentrate, but then I play games, and I can concentrate for hours on end, so it might just be that I'm allergic to boring stuff, Alex jokingly thought to himself as he waited. And waited. Rinning. Finally, I was about to die in there. All he does is tell the students to start reading page 58, and then start dozing off. If he accidentally hears someone make any noise, then that's detention immediately. That's one hell of a shitty professor if I have ever seen one, Alex thought as frustration bubbled its ugly head. TCH, pieces of shit like that shouldn't be allowed to teach at all. It's a waste to even give them a single cent, Alex thought as he walked towards his next class. The next class passed similarly to the second, though the middle-aged woman professor was about 100 times better than the Spanish professor, in Alex's honest opinion. Reeing. Finally, it's lunch break, Alex thought, releasing a sigh and standing up as he started heading toward the cafeteria. Now I'll finally be able to see if Edward actually came back or if something has indeed changed, if my actions, which should have had a minimal effect on the plot, have actually caused a huge butterfly effect, and Edward is actually dead. His body being devoured by some unknown mythical creature, Alex's thoughts continued to turn more and more depraved as he continued to think of more creative ways on how Edward could have died and ended up in a ditch. While I'm really not a fan of Edward, I still need to become an uncle so I won't kick his ass. Alex thought as he arrived at the doors of the cafeteria. Students went inside and left constantly, so it was hard to go in either direction. I won't kill him, Alex thought as Edward and Bella walked together towards the cafeteria. I won't dismember him, maybe, Alex added as he looked at the soon-to-be couple. Just how did they get so buddy-buddy with each other so quickly? Alex thought. Edward and Bella headed into the cafeteria and grabbed their lunch, sitting at a separate table. Alex just looked at them as his brows furrowed. Calm down, Edward's your brother-in-law. He's in all senses, but in blood, your own brother too. Alex thought and then froze. That sounded weird. Either way, I can't kill Edward. I cannot under any circumstance kill Edward Cullen, Alex thought as he went to grab his own food tray. His eyes were still trained on Bella and Edward, however. With his enhanced hearing, he could also hear their conversation perfectly well. They appeared to be talking about how Bella was fitting in and whether she had experienced any problems. Alex noticed how they started to stand closer and closer together. Soon after, a can of soda that he held in his hand started getting crushed as the pressure and strength in Alex's hand started increasing beyond humane levels. Sigh. Let's just stop and act like a normal human for a second. Bella is a grown woman who can handle herself, and it is not my position to meddle in her love life or her choices in life partners, Alex thought to himself as he muttered the same words like a mantra in his head. Finally, after getting his food tray full, Alex started heading towards Mike and Eric's table when he noticed Edith looking at him from the Cullen table. She looked at him straight in the eyes, leaving him no choice but to head towards her. I guess I'm having lunch with the Cullens today, Alex thought, though he wasn't particularly fond of the idea. I can barely control my emotions when I see that Edward bastard sitting so close to my sister, Alex thought as he first approached Mike and Eric and said to them, Hey guys, I'm going to eat with the Cullens today, as I promised them. Sorry for leaving you guys so abruptly, Alex said. However, he only got a pat on his back and encouraging looks from Mike and Eric. Those guys didn't say anything even though I left them alone. They truly are great friends, Alex thought, not understanding the hidden meaning that had shown in the two boys' eyes as they had faced Alex. Turning around, Alex left the boys alone and headed towards the Cullen table with his food tray. Hey guys, would you mind if I sat with you for lunch today? Considering your brother stole my sister, I feel like it's a fair trade. Alex asked jokingly as he stared at the cold ones. Without even looking at the others, Alice nodded her head quickly as she replied. Of course, you can join us, Alex. We'd be more than happy to have your company, Alice said, displaying a graceful smile on her lips. Alex nodded as he took a seat in the only chair still available, which was right next to Alice. This is probably Edward's spot, Alex thought, and then immediately turned to look at how Bella and Edward were doing, only to find them laughing among themselves. Pat. Feeling like a bear had slapped his back, Alex's body shook as he turned around to see who had hit him, only to find Emmett, who had somehow hit him when he had Alice between them. His arms must have ginormous reach. Beating him in a fight, if we were to both use equal strength, would be much harder, Alex thought immediately as his mind went on ways he could defend himself if anything were to happen. All I would need to do would be to catch him off guard, and if I used my full strength when transformed, then I should be able to rip his head off his body. All that would be left then would be to put him under fire to finish him off, Alex thought as he made a questioning look toward Emmett. Don't worry about your sister. Edwards is a nice guy, Emmett said as he patted, no more like he slammed Alex's back once more. Right, I already told you, Emmett, when we were doing gym class, but I don't really trust the words of his brother. Even if he was the greatest piece of garbage, he would be a star in your eyes. He's your brother, after all. Alex said as he shook his head at Emmett. So, are you calling Edward a piece of garbage? Alice interjected suddenly into the conversation. It was so sudden that Alex unknowingly uttered his thoughts out loud. Yes, Edward is a piece of garbage that should be disposed of, Alex said, and then froze as he stopped moving and turned to face Emmett and Alice, who had wide grins on their faces. Hey, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Alex asked as he faced Emmett and Alice. Laughing out loud, Emmett could barely stop himself as he held his own stomach. I just knew that you were going to be a breath of fresh air, Emmett said as he barely held himself back from laughing like a madman. On the other hand, Alice was almost jumping in place as she stared at Alex. So my brother is a true garbage man, huh? I'm sure he will be super happy to know that the girl he likes has a brother who hates him, Alice said, displaying her trademark mischievous grin. He likes Bella? He could barely stand being on the other side of a classroom last time they met, Alex said as he shook his head at Alice. He had other problems that day. It wasn't Bella who he couldn't stand, Alice said as a mischievous grin took her face. What are you saying that he was disgusted with me? Alex asked as he turned to face the short pixie. Alice just made a thinking pose and then said with a cheery tone as if she had found the answer. Who knows? I can't read his mind, you know. Alice said, looking like she had found the correct answer, and nodded to herself. Alex looked at her for a moment as he thought in his head. Well, you can't, but Edith and Edward can read minds, Alex thought until he had a sudden idea. It's perfect, absolutely amazing, Alex thought as a slight grin took over his face. Well, if you guys don't mind, then I'm going to be eating my food. I skipped breakfast, so I don't want to miss lunch as well, Alex said as he started eating, or at least forced himself to, as when he looked at the food, it looked more like a slimy monster rather than actual food. Now, how do I make it so that I release my thoughts for Edward and Edith to be able to hear? I'll just think of releasing it for now and see if they react to it somehow, Alex thought as he got ready to start. Now, Alex thought as he pushed with his mind to break the seal surrounding it. Alex heard, or at least felt like he heard a lock open. And then Alex's plan started. As he ate, he thought of the most degenerate ways he could torture Edward, of the most horrifying torture methods known to mankind. From the corner of his eye, he saw both Edith and Edward freeze. Edward even stopped talking to Bella for a few seconds and then continued his conversation. Lock, Alex thought as he pushed his thoughts, trying to seal his mind again. Clink. An imaginary sound fell into Alex's eyes as he felt the seal close up on his mind once more. When he saw Edward and Edith freeze for the second time, Edith turned to look at him, her expression much more serious than before. She didn't say any words, however, and turned back to her normal self soon after as she played with her food and joked with Emmett. How can you even eat that? Isn't it disgusting? Jasper said as he looked at Alex, who was currently about to plunge another spoonful of the monstrous slime into his mouth. Stopping right before the monster could enter his mouth, Alex brought the spoon back down and nodded at Jasper. Yeah, I really should just wait until I get back home to eat something else. This stuff tastes so bad that I might actually get sick from eating it, Alex said as he pushed his food tray a bit further away from him. So, what do you guys do in your free time? I know Emmett plays video games, but he said that you guys don't really entertain him in playing those. Alex said as he turned to look at them. Cold as ever, Rosalie still didn't even sign him with her gaze, not to mention answering his question. Jasper opened his mouth first as he replied. Well, I'm into old literature, and I like to read to pass the time. I do go to the cinema to watch a movie once in a while, though, Jasper said as he spun a small fork in his hand. Old literature? My sister likes reading old books as well, and she also listens to old classical music, though I don't really know what books she reads or who she listens to as I don't really like classical stuff much, Alex said as he nodded towards Jasper. And then he heard a loud voice next to him. You already know I like video games. Besides that, I spend most of my time in the gym, and I have to maintain these muscles somehow, you know. Emmett said, his voice loud as ever. Can you not to shout into our ears constantly, Emmett? We can hear you all right? Alex said as he held his ear. It almost felt like his eardrum had exploded. I already have increased hearing, I don't need you to scream into my ear. God damn it. Alex thought, and then he heard Alice finally speak up. Yeah, sorry about Emmett. He does that quite a lot, though he doesn't really mean it in a way to annoy you. It's just how he is, Alice said as she patted Alex's head. Alex opened his eyes wide as he turned to look at her. Do I look like some kind of crying puppy to you, Alice? Alex asked, his voice hinting at his confusion about her actions. Alice simply nodded and made a MHM sound as she removed her hand. What do you mean, MHM, Alice, huh? Alex asked as he faced her. Though he acted like he was annoyed, it was clear from his voice that he was only joking around. Well, in response to your earlier question, I like to go shopping. I'm super into fashion and clothes, and I also paint when I want to clear my mind or pass the time, Alice said as she turned to face Alex. She then made a thinking pose as she mumbled out loud intentionally. Should I buy a dog leash? Alice mumbled as she seemed to think about it. Hey, come on, that's a little too far, isn't it? Alex said, feeling like his freedom was being challenged. Lunch passed quickly as Alex, Alice, and Emmett joked around with each other. Jasper and Edith seemed more of the listener type, though they asked questions here and there. Alex went on a rant the whole lunch, almost explaining why he had come to Forks and the entire situation as Alice continued to ask question after question. It's really nice to talk to you, Alice, Alex said as he turned to face Alice. Is it? Alice asked as she looked at Alex. It is. It's nice when someone listens to what you're saying even though it's not that interesting, Alex said. Alice smiled and nodded as she replied to him. That's what friends are for, right? Okay, can you two stop? You're saying that you can't see Edward and Bella, but you are giving me the same treatment here, Alex, Emmett said as he made a disgusted face. Alex turned to look at Emmett, confused for a second, until the realization hit him. I didn't just mean her, Emmett. I also meant you too, when I said that. Alex tried to say. However, he got stopped by Emmett raising a hand. Turning towards Jasper, Emmett started puckering up his lips as he imitated Alex. Alice, I really like it when you listen to me. And Emmett couldn't hold it in any longer as he burst out laughing. Sure, Alex said as he smiled at the imitation. Ring. The lunch bell rang, signaling the end of lunch hour, and the students started getting up on their feet as they headed off toward their classes. Well, it seems like we're parting here. See you guys later, Alex said as he and the Cullens got up from their chairs. Rosalie simply passed by him while Jasper and Emmett patted his shoulder. Alice stopped for a second and then whispered to him. You don't have to be embarrassed about what Emmett said. Her face showed a small smile as she turned around and hopped off, joining the others. Edith, however, stood back as she looked at Alex for a moment. Edith walked close to Alex, practically hugging him as she neared his ear. What's she doing? Alex thought, confused, as he stared at Edith. Edith then whispered into Alex's ear. Lock, huh? Do you think we wouldn't notice? Since when did you know that we could read minds, Alex? Edith whispered as she put her arm around Alex's neck. What do you? Alex started to say, but was interrupted when Edith made a shushing noise. Meet me in the forest behind the school tomorrow morning. You wouldn't want to know what would happen if you didn't appear, Edith said as she stroked Alex's neck and then parted from him. See you, Alex, Edith said as she smiled at him once she was a bit farther away and walked the rest of the distance until she was outside of the cafeteria. Alex stood there frozen as he watched her disappear behind the door, the cafeteria already clear of students. Huff. All right then, Edith, Alex said, more to himself than to anyone else. Walking out of the cafeteria, Alex stayed silent as he walked towards his next class. My last class for the day is biology. I'm on the same desk as Edward, though they could change spots with Edith if Bella asks him. Either way, if Edith heard me say lock, then Edward definitely did as well, Alex thought as he put his backpack on his desk and sat down. Holding his forehead with his hands, Alex's thoughts ran wild. The cat's outside the bag, so there are 3 options that I can choose from at this point. Alex thought. One is to kill the Cullens entirely, which, while annoying, I'm sure I could manage. I don't want to kill them, though, so that option is disqualified immediately. Alex thought as he remembered Alice, Jasper, and Emmett. The second option is to just come clean and hope they accept me and don't report me to the Volturi. This option is honestly what I'm hoping for. If they haven't changed too much from the movies and books, then they will definitely not report me as they hate the Volturi, Alex thought as he scratched his cheek. The third option is to just say I'm human and have abilities related to the mind. This would be a half-lie, as I would tell them I have abilities, but at that point, why not just tell them the entire truth? Alex thought as he nodded to his decision. Unless something really wrong happens in that conversation, then I'm telling them the entire truth, Alex thought as he shook his head at his idiotic brain, which had decided pranking was just the best idea in the world. The hours passed quickly and biology arrived soon. Edward was still seated with Alex and Edith with Bella. Besides a small greeting at the beginning of the class, nothing was said the entire time. Re-ironing. The last bell of the day rang soon after as the students got up from their chairs. Alex likewise took his backpack and waited for Bella to get her stuff as well. They then started heading towards the parking lot together. Alex could see Edith and Edward walking together in the distance. They were entirely silent as they walked. Being able to talk with each other through thoughts sure must be nice, Alex thought as he watched them disappear behind cars. So, what's up with you and Edward? Alex asked as he turned to stare at Bella, whose face immediately reddened. Nothing, he just apologized about the other day and wanted to talk with me, Bella said as she seemed to start walking faster. Keeping up with her, Alex continued to pester her all the way about all the little details. It was normal, Alex. It's not what you think it was, Bella almost yelled as they got into the truck. I don't know, Bella, your face seems pretty red when you're talking about him, Alex said as he faked a confused face. Arg, Bella yelled, her frustration as she thought. Why am I in the same school as my brother? Why God? Driving the truck home, Alex, for once, didn't ramble his mouth off. The drive was silent as they arrived in front of their house. Is something wrong, Alex? Bella asked, noticing that something was bugging Alex. Alex turned to Bella and smiled. No, everything's fine, Bella. You don't need to worry. I'm just thinking about what to do since I'm so bored, Alex bullshitted through his teeth with a calm face. All right, just so you know, if something ever does happen, I'll always be here, Bella said as she smiled at her brother. Of course, same here too, Bella. If I can't count on my sibling, then who can I? Alex said. Why can't she just be a bitch, Alex thought, his heart clenching for a moment at having to lie so much to someone who would always be there for him, through thick and thin. Either way, it's for her own good. Alex thought as he tried to find an excuse. Parking the car in front of the garage, Alex turned the ignition key, and the truck's engine turned off. Taking their backpacks, Alex and Bella got out of the truck and headed inside the house. Seems like Charlie is still at work, Bella said as they opened the door to the living room. Yeah, Alex replied, heading for the stairs to the second story of the house. I'm going to take a shower first, Bella, Alex said as he climbed up the stairs. All right, I'll just eat something then, Bella replied back as she put her backpack on a chair and went to the kitchen freezer. Arriving upstairs, Alex went directly to his room and sat on his bed, his thoughts running a mile a minute. This could be the last night that I actually had privacy in this house. Alex thought as he remembered the countless times Edward had come to watch Bella sleep. And then Alex shook his head as his eyes turned fierce. I don't care about much of what they do, but if that bastard does that shit, then he's going to see just how many trees I can throw him through. Hiding be damned, Alex thought as he shuddered at imagining someone watching him while he slept. Tonight, I should go out in town and test my abilities some more, Alex thought as he stood up from his bed, took his clothes off, and, worse, wrapped a towel around his waist. Heading inside the bathroom, Alex took a hot shower and headed back into his own room, leaving the bathroom feeling like a sauna from all the hot steam. If I don't turn the heat to the maximum, I don't even feel the heat at this point, Alex thought as he dressed in black jeans and a black t-shirt that hugged his body closely, showing all his defined muscles. With a thin black jacket on top and a pair of black glasses, Alex finished his outfit and headed back into the bathroom. Taking a hair comb and a dryer, Alex tried copying what he had seen Leonardo DiCaprio rock in 2002. This should be stylish for this time period, Alex thought as he looked at himself in the mirror. Good enough, Alex thought as he went outside the bathroom and headed downstairs. It had been about an hour since he had arrived home. As he was walking down the stairs, Alex's enhanced senses allowed him to hear Bella mumbling to herself. And he says that I take a long time. He's been in the damn bathroom for hours, Bella mumbled as she looked at the TV. Step. Hearing someone coming down the stairs, Bella looked at Alex and then her body stopped moving. Her eyes, however, were going up and down him as she looked at him frozen. Who are you dressing up for? Bella asked as a large grin appeared on her face. What do you mean, who? I'm just going out to town, maybe getting some drinks, Alex said as he tried to pass Bella. Stop, Bella said as she stood up from the couch and arrived in front of Alex. If you don't buy me some chips, then I'm snitching to Charlie and Mom, Bella said as she stood as if she were a road blockade. You can tell them, sure? Alex said, confused as to why that would be a threat. I can? I'm sure Charlie, the police chief, will be having a great time knowing his son is drinking alcohol illegally. You do know how worried Renee always got when you went out too. I'm sure you will be having a 2-hour-long lecture just from her, Bella said as she started listing all the reasons Alex should be worried. Huff. Fine, Bella, stop. I'll buy you the chips, Alex said. Thanks, Bella said, smiling. She passed him and started heading upstairs. However, before she could disappear from view, she stopped as she turned around and told Alex. Don't betray Alice, will you? And then Bella started heading to the second floor again. What do you mean by don't betray Alice? I'm not even together with her, damn it. Alex said as he shook his head and headed outside. I would like to go to Portland or some other bigger city, but I don't think this truck would even be able to bring me there, Alex thought as he sighed and opened the truck, hopping inside the driver's seat. I'll need to start making money. With me heading out tonight, I'll be pretty close to broke. I could steal from people with days for some short-term money, but that's not a long-term plan, Alex thought as he started the truck up and reversed out of the garage. A few seconds later, Alex was on the road as he drove forward towards Forks downtown. There has to be at least one nightclub, right? Alex thought to himself as he drove.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500-plus novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.